The votes are being counted, the numbers are trickling in, and every campaign war room across the U.S. is holding its breath. And in the middle of all that noise, New York City has become ground zero for one of the most bizarre political showdowns we've seen in recent years. You've got former Governor Andrew Cuomo trying to claw his way back into the spotlight, and on the other side, Zohran Mamdani, the self-described Democratic socialist from Queens, who seems to have made a career out of fighting the establishment, with Curtis Sliwa in a very distant third. Now, President Trump, he calls Mamdani a communist existential threat.
The president does not support me. The president opposes Zohran Mamdani. The president believes Zohran Mamdani is a communist. He believes he's an existential threat. I believe he's a socialist and an existential threat.
Well, they both believe and agree that Mamdani is an existential threat. Friends, when President Trump and Andrew Cuomo agree on anything, you know the political spectrum just folded in on itself. But let's be real. This race isn't just about two New Yorkers throwing shade at each other. No, it's about what kind of movement voters are responding to. Is Mamdani the face of a growing far-left wave, or just the loudest to protest in a city that's tired of establishment politics? And while all that is unfolding, we've got New Jersey still cleaning up from those bomb threat hoaxes, and Virginia counting votes in razor-thin contests. So here's the big question. Is tonight a preview of what's coming for America in 2026, or just another chaotic chapter in this country's political soap opera? Let's get out to our senior correspondent, John Huddy, for the very latest.
Yeah, David, I mean, great points, great questions. And I'm watching also what's happening in New York City because I lived there for 10 years during the Bloomberg administration when Ray Kelly was commissioner, Greg's dad. And those were good times. That was a safe city. So if Mamdani wins, there is serious concern about where that city is going to be going based on exactly what you just outlined. But I want to start first in Virginia. As mentioned, the polls closed at 7, and right now the Democratic candidate, Abigail Spanberger, is projected to be the winner. I'm kind of looking at just my cheat sheet here, the numbers coming in. Right now, she's got a little over 55% of the vote to Winsome, the Republican candidate, Winsome Earl Sears, lieutenant governor, at about 45%, 44.6%, with a little over 1.1 million ballots counted at this point. Republican Winsome Earl Sears, as I said, the state's lieutenant governor, was looking to become and make history as the first black woman elected governor in any state. While Spanberger, a former CIA case officer, left of center, that's how she's been basically kind of pushing her politics, is about to make history, according to the numbers as we're looking at, as the first woman to lead the Commonwealth. Now, the race to replace Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has been followed closely national as a potential really testing ground for both parties a year ahead of the midterm elections, David. President Trump, as you know, and as our viewers probably know, lost Virginia in 2016, 2020, 2024. And this year, there's talk that it could, be a referendum, really, assuming it's going in the direction of Spanberger winning, on the government shutdown, with some, I believe the last count I saw, 300,000 civil and federal workers living in Virginia. Well, during a telephone rally on Monday, President Trump praised Jason Miyares, the Republican incumbent attorney general running for re-election, who's still trailing right now in that election. I'm going to bring up the numbers in a second. But President Trump didn't mention Earl Sears by name because they've had a bit of a politically contentious and fractured relationship going back to around 2021, 2022. And President Trump didn't endorse her this year. He talked about other Republicans on the ballot when he was praising Miyares, but he didn't mention Earl Sears by name. And she, leading up to tonight, really trailed Representative Spanberger in recent polls leading up to tonight's election. So really the question is, Earl Sears, if she's going to lose this race, if it really will be kind of, a gauge of things to come heading to the, to the midterm elections, or if, again, Spanberger's kind of left of center approach will make her, help her make history tonight, which seems to be the indication looking at these numbers coming in at this point. Let's talk about New Jersey, another big race. President Trump also holding a telephone rally in New Jersey before tonight's election, where it's really been neck and neck between Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli and Democratic candidate Representative Mickey Sherrill, who's had a very slight lead going into tonight. I mean, just too close to call. The Garden State polls, as we know, close right now, I mean, at 8 o'clock. So we should be getting those results. I'm going to look at the numbers coming in right now, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like Representative Sherrill is ahead based on our numbers that we're seeing with about 205,113 votes in. She's leading 54.1% over Jack Ciattarelli at 45.3%. You know, New Jersey, though, look, President Trump also lost Jersey the last 3 elections. However, it swung toward Trump by 13 percentage points last year compared to 2020. And that was the second largest swing of any state in the country. So really, turning out Trump voters, particularly in certain counties like Passaic County, may help push Ciattarelli to victory. Trump actually won Passaic County in 2024, though he lost it in 2020. So Ciattarelli's really trying to get those Trump voters. He was endorsed by President Trump this time. The big issue in the state, property taxes, public safety, public education, and development. And speaking of President Trump endorsing Ciattarelli, I believe we have that Trump Truth Social post. He posted a message a couple hours ago writing that, quote, "I just heard that 32,000 Orthodox Jews around Lakewood and Jackson, New Jersey have showed up big for Jack Ciattarelli. My friends in this great community know how important this election is to New Jersey and to our country. There's still time to vote." And then he goes on to write in this Truth post, "I'm asking all patriotic citizens of the great state of New Jersey, including all Kollel and Yeshiva students who haven't voted yet, to please get out and vote for Jack Ciattarelli. You can win this election for Jack. Vote for Jack." And then he talks about the polls closing at 8 o'clock as we're getting these numbers in. And I see the numbers are still up. Sherrill at 60.4%, Ciattarelli 39.2%. So we're going to continue to watch that very, very carefully. And then finally, just real quick, David, New York City. The race for mayor of New York, polls close at 9 p.m., so we're coming up less than an hour. Zohran Mamdani has held a pretty sizable lead in the polls over former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, if you want to believe the polls, with Curtis Sliwa trailing pretty far behind both of them. The Associated Press, David, reported this evening that as of 3 p.m., nearly 1.5 million people had voted in New York City, with turnout already surpassing the total votes cast in any New York City mayoral election in the past 20 years. So that's really going back to when Rudy Giuliani was mayor in the 90s. And boy, what a change it's been since then in New York, with Mamdani, a socialist who supports many Marxist and communist views, signaling not only really a huge radical shift in the electorate in New York, but as you were kind of talking about in the intro, concerns about the national implications, and certainly a battle within the Democratic Party, but more so the potentially disastrous impact on New York if he's elected. President Trump posting on Truth Social as I wrap up here earlier today that any Jewish person that votes for Zohran Mamdani, a proven and self-professed Jew hater, is a stupid person. Well, this coming, David, after leaders of the very radical Hasidic Jewish Satmar community in Brooklyn endorsed Mamdani yesterday. So a lot of division, a lot of concern about this election. We're watching it very, very carefully at this point. We'll have all the numbers as they come out. David.
John, thank you so much, brother. John Huddy, everybody. Very interesting evening. Very interesting. We're watching it very closely. And joining me now is actor, director, and producer, and my friend, Kevin Sorbo. Kevin, very intense evening this evening. Some of these races being called. It does not look like Winsome Sears is going to pull it out. We heard there John Huddy sharing that President Trump, maybe he had missed that one. He didn't come out and endorse her. Not sure why. There's probably something behind the scenes. But there's some very pivotal races that are taking place around the country, and obviously in California with Prop 50. What are your thoughts with what we're seeing so far with Mamdani looking like he probably will most likely be the mayor of New York City, and Republicans not pulling through? If it continues down the road that it is, we're going to see some defeats tonight.
Well, you know, the more insane it gets, the more I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's weird to me to see what's going on, because I saw some of these debates that these people had, and I look at New York City. So I live in the free state of Florida. I escaped California. I left Newsom, the worst governor in the country, for the best governor of the country here in DeSantis. We left back in January of 2019. So I got here before COVID, before all the craziness going on. And I just see another tidal wave of very successful businesses and people from New York moving down here over the next 2 years. We'll see what's going to happen. But let's face it. I mean, it's never, ever worked. I think the biggest thing he got behind was probably the younger vote. I look at the 30-year-olds and younger that were totally indoctrinated by our horrible, never improving public schools and our university system. And it's just getting worse and worse right now. But I still think there's a tipping point. A lot of people are waking up. I see a lot of youth waking up as well. But this guy's going into a city like New York, and you see the craziness of that town. And these people are voting for the destruction of New York City. We'll see. You know, maybe he'll surprise us, and this guy will come to the center a little bit more. But from what I hear him speak and talk, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think I was talking to my wife about this earlier. I said, you know, sometimes it's just got to get worse before people really start to pay attention. You know, as you said, there's so many young voters out there. I've seen several videos of young voters that are asking, you know, being asked questions. What policies of Mamdani's do you like? And they just have no idea. But they like that he's young and that he talks about a bunch of free stuff. And I think they're going to find out the hard way. Now, across the Hudson, several bomb threats were actually made in New Jersey at polling stations. And I want you to hear how Mamdani responded to this news. Watch.
It's incredibly concerning. Right. And I think that it is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. We have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country.
There you have it. There it is, Mamdani. It's Trump's fault. Bomb threats, it's Trump's fault. Everything seems to be Trump's fault. I mean, when you take away these socialist fantasies, is being chronically anti-Trump just pretty much all he's got?
Yeah, because that's what they all do. It doesn't matter what level of democracy the Democrats do. If you're from a school board member, if you're Nancy Pelosi, everything is Trump's fault, even though he's already making people's lives better, and it's only going to get better. I mean, here's a president that promises to do things, and he actually does them. Most times, when they're running for office, they make all these promises, nothing happened. Look, I'm always, you know, I love Ronald Reagan's quote, and he said, "The words to fear are high from the government. I'm here to help." They want to turn New York into the DMV. What is your last experience at the DMV or the U.S. Post Office, guys? Anything run by the government, our public schools, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And if you want that type of world, you're trading in democracy that they keep throwing at people's faces. We used to be a republic, but you know, Benjamin Franklin said, "Good luck holding on to that." But we're trading it in for bread lines, and we're going to see this happen. He wants the government run the grocery stores. It's just like, there'll be no bread. There'll be no bread in the
free bus fare. Yeah, free bus fare. Turn the NYPD into a social call. You know, hey, if you need help, we call in for support. It's a support group. Yeah. You know, we have too many police. He says, "Oh, I never said defund the police." We've got the receipts. He posted so many times that he wants to defund the police. He wants to divert that over to different social programs, to be there to coddle the people that are having mental breakdowns, probably because of their TDS. Well, now, let's go to the governor's race.
You've got MSNBC and CNN and all these people saying, "We never called it Trump Nazi," you know, interviewing the Chicago governor or mayor or whatever there. And I'm just laughing at these guys because you just got to go back and go, "Oh, when did he say this?" Well, he said it 37 times. So, but they don't care what they say. They don't care if they lie. They really don't care. You can tell,
they don't.
You know, I remember running into one, I'm not going to say who I ran into, but very far left, very high official in the DC government. And we talking about golf. And I said, "What's your handicap? And don't lie." He says, "Well, I don't lie." And I started laughing. I said, "That's pretty much all what you guys do."
Yeah, that's about as rich as, it's about as thick as Gavin Newsom literally just saying, "I hate it when politicians lie. They sit there and they just lie to your face." He literally just came out and said that. And yet he thinks people take him seriously.
I posted on X. I said, "Well, he's going
final thoughts to you."
Well, he's going to run for
and final
president,
thoughts,
right?
about 20 seconds.
Okay, well, it like I said, it doesn't surprise me what's going on, and we just got to keep doing the good things. As Trump says, we just got to keep win, baby, win, and I think that's what we're going to keep doing. There's so many of these Democrats behind closed doors admit that their lives are getting better, but right now they're the party of hate, they're the party of anger, they're a party of murder, I mean, I saw the commercials coming in from the Virginia races, and the number one issue is the abortion issue, and they call it a health issue for women. What about the baby? What pro-choice is what? Death, murder, or life? That's the choice you're giving these unborn babies. So I'm just blown away by the callousness and the just hypocrisy of what they keep showing the world.
Yep, I hear you. Kevin Sorbo, God bless you, brother. Thank you for joining the Pulse tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Absolutely. And friends, now breaking news, a UPS plane, it crashed. It was leaving the airport in Louisville, Kentucky. And this video that you're seeing right now is from the scene from a few hours earlier. A shelter in place was actually issued for a 5-mile radius around the airport. And we are hearing reports of injuries. We will, of course, continue to follow breaking developments and bring them to you as they come in. Hopefully nothing too devastating has happened over there. But coming up, Gavin Newsmax, we like to call him around here, accusing President Trump of tampering with California elections while alleged fraud happens right under his nose. More on our special election night coverage next.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
If you've ever felt that you paid too much for an auto repair, you're not alone. In fact, 66% of people feel that they've been ripped off by their mechanic. But here are some tips to help you save some money. Always do your homework before you buy. Ask a friend that knows about cars or check online about the problem. Avoid repair shop deception. Drivers should do their own research online or by phone to know exactly what a job should cost. Get quotes from more than one repair shop. Speak intelligently. The homework you've done will tell the service writer you recognize a sensible price right off the bat. Beware of a mechanic who shows you a transmission or oil pan with metal particles in it and recommends a major job. The shavings are usually a sign of normal wear. You always want to ask for original equipment auto parts or at least equivalent. Some repair shops use low-quality Chinese auto parts as a way to save money. Before you get any repair, contact the dealer of your manufacturer and ask if there's a TSB, or Technical Service Bulletin, or recall on these components. Look for an ASE, National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence certification, as well as a state license. Reputable shops are proud to display them. Good mechanics are hard to find, and communication is key. A good mechanic will explain the different phases and give you some options. They want to educate you. Don't be afraid to ask for a discount or see if they have any coupons. I'm Lauren Fix, the car coach for Newsmax TV.
If you could help reduce the urge to go to the bathroom due to your aging prostate, if you could improve your energy levels because you're getting a better night's sleep, would you? Of course you would. And now you can, with the help of Prostate Revive, the premium dietary supplement for men whose lives, sleep, and energy levels are affected due to the concerns of an aging prostate. It was specially formulated for men by noted medical doctor, Dr. David Brownstein.
Prostate Revive is really about healthy aging. It contains a plant sterol called beta-sitosterol, combined with 15 other important ingredients. Prostate Revive's exclusive formula helps promote normal prostate function, and that means you can reduce the urge to go and finally get a good night's sleep.
Here's how you can try Prostate Revive risk-free.
Simply call or visit our website now and we'll send every new customer a risk-free 30-day trial of Prostate Revive. You just cover the low shipping and handling. This is a $39.95 value, so don't delay. Call or go online today.
Welcome back, friends, to The Pulse. I am David Harris Jr., and we are continuing our coverage of Election Day across America. Polls closed at the top of the hour in the New Jersey governor's race, where results are already coming in, and in New York, polls are slated to close at 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you're watching right now and you haven't voted, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Get out there, go cast your vote, and I think you know that we do not think that Mamdani is the right decision for New York. It's crazy to think that Cuomo is better, but gosh, that's just where you guys are at. And voters in California, they're also casting their ballots on Gavin Newsom's Prop 50, which is to redistrict the state, and it would probably remove about 5 Republican seats from Congress. We don't want that from the House. Polls are open there until 11 p.m. Now let's get a check. It's check on the numbers with our senior correspondent, John Huddy. John, what is the latest over there, my brother?
Yeah, man. So just real quick about Prop 50, it could add 5 more Democratic seats with this redistrict, the ballot, which basically to adopt a new congressional map that could add up to 5 Democratic House seats. So obviously that is a concern for the GOP. For folks in California, though, some of the polls show that this ballot may indeed pass. In fact, on that note, just real quick before I get to the numbers for the races in Virginia and New Jersey, President Trump posted a message, I think we have it on Truth Social today, about Prop 50, saying that the unconstitutional redistricting vote in California is a giant scam and that the entire process, and particularly the voting itself, is rigged. All mail-in ballots where the Republicans in that state are shut out is under very serious legal and criminal review. Stay tuned. As of Monday, actually 7.2 million Californians cast their ballots, according to the California Secretary of State's office. So polls close 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern in California. We'll bring those numbers to you when they happen. Let's get back to the gubernatorial races in Virginia. Let's talk real quick. Let's go through the numbers in Virginia, the governor's race. Abigail Spanberger, the Democratic nominee, is projected to be the winner in that race with right now 57% of the vote over the Lieutenant Governor, Republican Winsome Earl Sears, 44.5, about 45% of the vote with 1.7, almost about 1.8 million ballots counted at this point. So about 50% of the ballots counted in Virginia. And in New Jersey, again, this has been a very, very tight race between Representative Mikey Sherrill, the Democratic nominee, and Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican nominee. The polls, if you believe the polls, which I generally don't trust the polls, but they've been neck and neck leading right up to tonight. But right now, with about 26% of all the, of the polls reporting, Sherrill's up 61.8%, Jack Ciattarelli 37.7%, about 851 votes in at this point. So it's still a little early in that race, but there is a pretty wide margin. The hope was that Ciattarelli would get those Trump voters out in some of the big counties like Passaic County, where President Trump actually voted red back in 2024. He lost New Jersey in 2020, 2024, but he won Passaic County in 2024. So some of these areas that swung red, the hope, David, is that Ciattarelli would get some of those folks, those Trump voters out. So we're still following that very closely as well. And of course, as soon as we get more numbers on that, we'll bring it to you. And then finally, the race in New York City, former Governor Andrew Cuomo has been behind in the polls leading up to tonight, facing Zohran Mamdani. Curtis Sliwa is, in third right now, trailing behind all of them. But obviously, it could be disastrous for New York if the socialist gets into office, who really, a lot of his views have been Marxist, they've been communist, they've been anti-Israel, and it's on the record, anti-American in many respects, certainly anti-capitalistic as well, David. So, as my former home city, I lived in New York and New Jersey right across, definitely dangerous times there with this election. Back to you.
Yes, it is, John. Well, thank you for that, brother. Hopefully we do hear some good news one way or the other. Hopefully good does come out of what happens in New York. We can only pray for that. Thanks, John. Appreciate you, brother. And as we just continue our coverage, the special election night coverage tonight, We're gonna have some interesting stuff coming for you, and we're gonna go to break right now. And we'll have Ed Henry, actually, and Bianca de la Garza joining the show next. Stick around.
Nothing is off limits to David Harris Jr., and there's no apologies because he's armed with common sense, real faith, and the truth. Don't miss him on The Pulse tonight.
In downtown Pittsburgh, at the confluence of the Allegheny and Monongahela rivers, lies 36 acres of parkland with a legacy steeped in history. Before the picnickers, power walkers, and sightseers, Point State Park was a strategic place that became a focal point for Native Americans, as well as French and British colonists, all of whom vied for control of the Ohio River watershed and what would later become America's Midwest. Today rests the remains of the two oldest structures in Pittsburgh, Fort Pitt and Fort Duquesne. The Fort Pitt Museum, which is in a recreated British bastion, tells the story of the role Fort Pitt played in the French and Indian War, the American Revolution, and the Whiskey Rebellion. In 1763, Delaware and Shawnee Indians staged Pontiac's Rebellion. The British managed to fend off the attack. They finally abandoned the fort in 1772, and it became the headquarters for the Western Theater of the American Revolution for Washington's Army. In the years following the Revolution, Fort Pitt fell into disrepair and was finally abandoned in 1792. Pittsburgh was booming, and many residents even used pieces of the fort to build housing. The only building that remains of the original fort is the Block House. It was spared demolition because in 1785 it was home to Pittsburgh businessman and politician Isaac Craig. Today, it is the oldest structure in western Pennsylvania. But perhaps one of the most iconic features of Point State Park is its magnificent fountain, spraying water 150 feet into the air. From here, visitors can savor magnificent views as they imagine all those visitors from the past who have stood here before. I'm Lucy Celia, and this is An American Place on Newsmax TV.
From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home. Sweet
Welcome to Newsmax 2's coverage. Big off-year election. I'm Ed Henry. Good evening.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bianca de la Garza. We are coming here just about 30 minutes before the polls close in New York, but already some races, key ones. Polls have closed in Virginia and also in New Jersey. But, of course, New York has been one to watch here with
to see whether
Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani, the socialist, will be the next mayor or not. I think we've got a live look at Andrew Cuomo's headquarters. We're going to be cycling through all of the big headquarters. There's a look at Cuomo's, what he hopes to be victory headquarters. He's made this last stand here, and there's been some momentum. There's been talk about really strong turnout among older voters and Jewish voters, questioning whether maybe there's a Stop Mamdani movement. But, of course, with Republican Curtis Sliwa not getting out of that race, some of the last polls, Bianca, suggested that Sliwa was going to get at least 15%. the math to stop Mamdani just may not add up.
It may not, but it may. You know, New York's race has seen the highest turnout in decades. And President Trump also, as you know, did say that he would be endorsing Cuomo because he doesn't want to see Mamdani win. And Cuomo was interesting.
He'd rather a bad Democrat than a socialist or a communist.
Yeah, when he was asked about it, you know, Cuomo said, well, it's a vote against Mamdani. I'm not being endorsed by President Trump. But will it be enough momentum, of course, to bring him ahead of course, Mamdani headquarters over in Brooklyn, where he has been.
Yeah.
The last, you know, few hours, questions about his ties and where the money has come from to fund his campaigns.
That's right.
Real serious concerns. Some of it coming from 80% Muslim groups, and one of them is CARE, which is for civil rights of Muslim. But a lot of voters in these past few hours really had to look at some of these new numbers coming out and the concerns.
Yeah, there have been reports.
The anti-Semitism, too.
Yeah.
There's comments that he's not distanced himself from it.
Yeah, there's been reports of record high turnout sort of in New York City. An off-year election, usually not a big turnout, but they're saying it's sort of Giuliani-Dinkins-style turnout when they had these big brawls between big Republican and Democrat names. We'll cycle through some of the other big races and then bring in some of our great guests. We'll be calling races all night long. The first one that was called tonight, Bianca, Virginia governor. This is not really a surprise. Spanberger, who has been leading all along, she wins, and we're projecting here at Newsmax that she will beat Winsome Earl Sears, who made a big mistake by not getting the full backing of President Trump. She had said the party should move on from him a few years ago. You see that quad look there. Mamdani campaign headquarters, as you say, in New York City. Pennsylvania vote counting that's going on. They've got some local races. The Spanberger campaign rally in the bottom left there, they're fired up. Remember, Northern Virginia is big Democrat country, federal workers. Yeah. And this shutdown, it'll be interesting. There's Winsome Earl Sears' campaign rally. They wanted it to be a victory party. That is for naught. It'll be interesting to see what Schumer and Jeffries and the Democrats take from this. That maybe a victory in Virginia. There's a lead right now. We're going to get to New Jersey in a few moments. A big lead for the Democrat over the Republican in New Jersey. Do Democrats, if they get victories in those governor's races, do they take from that they should keep this government shutdown going and that they're firing up their base?
Well, we would hate to see that obviously happening with so many people impacted. Sean Duffy came out today and said they may have to actually restrict airspace, close it if they don't reopen the government. There was a lot of talk, Ed, as you know, that they would galvanize the base, get people out to the polls today, and then in the next few days see the government reopen. Winsome Earl Sears again has lost her bid. She's the lieutenant governor, but it is the first female governor for Virginia there. And
That's
interesting, when we look at Virginia as well, there's the Attorney General race. Of course, Jay Jones, who made those horrific tests. The text scandal broke about a month ago.
He's leading right now despite the text scandal. He's up 51.3 to 48.7, according to Newsmax's vote totals right now. Now, there's 59% in. So we still got well over 40% of the vote to count. And he's in the lead, but Jay Jones, the Democrat who had that big scandal, may not survive. He's in the lead right now by 3 points. Big stuff going on in the Golden State tonight as well. The polls don't close out there until 11 p.m. Eastern. Let's welcome in a friend now, the former California Republican Party chair, attorney Tom Del Picaro. Tom, it's always great to check in with you. You're somebody who took on Kamala Harris before anybody wanted to do that a long time ago. My memory is strong out there in a Senate battle. Tell us about Prop 50, and then we'll go around the country. But oh, pardon me, 1 second. We have Spanberger, the governor-elect in the Commonwealth of Virginia, walking on stage. Let's get a quick thought from you instead of talking California, and then we'll go to her live in a moment. Tom, your thoughts about the Democrats are going to try to get momentum out of this, even though she was projected to win. They're going to say, hey, look, all these federal workers in Northern Virginia, they turned out. Let's keep this government shutdown going.
You know, there's 4 races, big races, and they're all in blue states. And the Virginia governor's race usually goes to the party outside the White House. So, yes, the Democrats are going to say this is all about Trump. But the reality is if they don't sweep tonight, it is a failure of them. We'll see what happens in New Jersey. But the reality is this is 4 blue states, and the Republicans didn't take California seriously enough, but we can talk about that later.
We sure will. We want to take you now live. I believe she's just approaching the microphone. Here is the governor-elect here, Abigail Spanberger of Virginia. Let's listen in.
years ago. And, you know, that's what happens in all fewer elections. You had a Democrat president in Joe Biden and Republican Youngkin won. Now you have a Republican president in Trump. And the Democrats take this governorship.
I spoke to Winsome Earl-Sears earlier. She thought crime and energy prices might bring her over the edge, but that was not the case today in Virginia.
Thank you all so much. My fellow Virginians, tonight we sent a message to every corner of the Commonwealth, a message to our neighbors and our fellow Americans across the country. We sent a message to the whole world that in 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship. We chose our Commonwealth over chaos. You all chose leadership that will focus relentlessly on what matters most: lowering costs, keeping our communities safe, and strengthening our economy for every Virginian. Leadership that will focus on problem solving, not stoking division. We chose leadership that will always put Virginia first. And Virginia, I cannot wait to get to work for you. Tonight we turned a page. We turned that page by listening to our neighbors, focusing on practical results, laying out a clear agenda, and leading with decency and determination. To everyone who helped us achieve this win, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I thank you for the trust that you have placed in me, and it is the honor of my lifetime to be elected the 75th governor to thank my opponent for a hard-fought race, the Lieutenant Governor's story, her military service, and her years of service here in Virginia deserve our respect and our gratitude, and I ask that you join me in wishing her and her family well.
All right, so you can hear Abigail Spanberger. She is now the governor-elect in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the first ever female governor. It was going to be the first female governor either way, Bianca, whether it was her or Winsome Earl-Sears. But, boy, I think Sears obviously it was years in the making, because back in 2023, 2024, when Donald Trump was making his comeback, Sears had basically said, we need to move on from Trump. We need a new age in the Republican Party, and that's not where the Republican Party is, obviously.
Right.
And so when he did this teletown hall a couple of nights ago, talked about voting for Republicans up and down the ticket, but did not name Winston Earl Sears.
And you had Obama, of course, stumping out for Abigail Spanberger, and she did run a pretty good campaign. She's a great retail politician, former CIA, and so there you go. And Winston Earl Sears may have been that fatal move, like you said.
Way,
and New Jersey, I believe, is just coming in now.
Pardon me. We've got a projection now from Newsmax, and we're projecting that the Democrat will win there as well. Big night for the Democrats. Mikey Sherrill, the Congresswoman, is going to beat Jack Ciattarelli. It's the third time he ran for governor. He lost just by a point or two 4 years ago, and a lot of people on the Republican side thought he had momentum and he had the backing, much stronger backing from President Trump than Winston Earl Sears. Now, as you can see, we've only had, this is a projection, 29% of the votes in. So those numbers may tighten there, but we're projecting here at Newsmax that Jack Ciattarelli will come up short, and Mikey Sherrill will be the governor-elect in New Jersey.
Many thought he was in sort of a statistical dead heat, but, polling, it depends on the sample. It's not always accurate, especially in a state like New Jersey. A lot of independents, a very hard state to poll. But Jack Ciattarelli, even with that touching moment with his son who was serving, coming to meet him, it looked like perhaps it could have been a lot closer. And you're right. I mean, he did come within 3 points of Phil Murphy last time around. But again, another loss here for the Republicans. Jack Ciattarelli, even with the tele-rally, was not able to pull through. It's somewhat surprising, too, because Mikey Sherrill, she is somebody, unlike Spanberger, her campaign did suffer and be plagued by some scandals, not just, the $7 million she's made in stocks while she's been a member of Congress, and all the energy costs in New Jersey,
scandal
the taxes.
When she was in a military academy, and a lot of big issues that she overcame, it appears, tonight in the Garden State. Let's bring back our friend Tom Del Beccaro. We're sorry that we rudely interrupted you. We wanted to hear from the governor-elect there in Virginia. Before we get to California, I promise we're going to get there. What do you think about the mood here? The national media, as you know, is going to say this is a big night for Democrats. The two governorships on the line, they got them.
They did. Again, they are blue states. But, I've been saying all year that the Republicans' lazy attitude on passing the big, beautiful bill and taking from November, they knew they won in November, getting all the way to July. A bill like that takes 6-7 months for the economic benefits to occur. And so a lot of voters around the country don't believe the economic benefits have been there yet for them. If you look at the polling throughout the country today, the economy is up there. It's the biggest issue in California. It's an issue in Virginia. It's an issue in New Jersey. And so the Republicans' failure to pass that bill prior to July is in part of the problem that's going on tonight for Republicans.
And maybe that's why when Mondami's offering all this free stuff as well, that sounds pretty appealing too. Things that he probably doesn't even have the authority to do, though. That's the other consequence. All right, let's talk about California. Prop 50 looks like it will pass. This is bypassing an independent commission to redistrict. Governor Newsom really had a lot of stake on this, right? He had to win. They've sunk a ton of taxpayer money into this. He's complaining about a ballroom. You've got a Capitol construction out in Sacramento that's in the billions. I mean, the hypocrisy is so rich with Gavin Newsom. Prop 50, though, I mean, this is going to be a real interesting gauge to see how did they do with Latinos? Are they making any ground here when it comes to Democrats in California? Because we know it is a uniparty. Most likely this is going to win, and Prop 50 will pass, no doubt, Tom. But maybe not so much as a forebear of what's to come, because we knew it's California. But we can look at pockets of who voted for Prop 50 to see how much Democrats can actually claim a victory here.
We can. We also know that California wasn't slated to have a statewide election, and that this was put on in a hurry in August, 75 days when it should have been legally, it should have been longer. And so in that special election circumstance, the motivated party, the party pushing the issue, tends to do better. When I was chairman and vice chairman, we won special elections because the minority party was more motivated. And so if there is a victory for Prop 50 tonight, all the money that came into the state, I predicted this would be a huge amount of money coming from out of state. It's over $300 million spent on this, the highest ever spent on a proposition. So the Democrats were certainly motivated. Now we're going to see, just as you say, where did the treasure of votes come from, and did it cross into those subgroups that you just discussed?
Tom, we just got 30 seconds, but what's the practical effect if Prop 50 does pass? Is this like 3 to 5 seats that go from the Republicans to the Democrats? What kind of impact does this have on the midterms in terms of seats that the Democrats are likely to pick up
Kevin
in California?
Kiley, I think, could be one of those who has more of a stake in this.
He's in a difficult seat.
Yeah.
First thing you need to know is there are going to be a bunch of lawsuits, and we won't actually know from the courts for several months as to what the actual seats will be, but it could be as many as 5 going over to the Democrats, which would balance out what happened in Texas. But if the economy doesn't come around, then you're going to have a bigger problem. It's coming around, but it's really got to take hold in the minds of voters.
Yeah, that inflation has come down. Not everybody feeling it. Gas prices, certainly people are feeling.
And of course,
Grocery
tariffs in
prices,
front of
maybe
the
not.
Supreme Court starting tomorrow, or arguments.
We got
That's a whole other
a lot
part
riding
of
on
this
that
economic
before the Supreme
agenda.
Court. Tom Del Beccaro, we appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. By the way, polls closing in under 15 minutes in New York City. So that's going to be the main event perhaps tonight.
It certainly is.
If Andrew Cuomo, as the independent, can somehow stop Mamdani and backed by President Trump, that might be some solace for the White House tonight. But if a socialist takes the mayor's race in New York, the Democrats are going to play this as a clean sweep.
Yeah, well, they are. But, I mean, again, it remains to be seen. We still have a little bit of time. And, again, before the polls close, and can Cuomo pull out an upset here? Certainly, a lot of people in the past few days very, very concerned about some of the things that Mamdani has said regarding, anti-Semitic comments and the ties and groups that have been funding him. Let's bring in now managing editor at Newsbusters, Curtis Hook. Curtis, it's great to have you with us. So, as Ed was saying, the narrative is going to be, this is the Democrats are coming back. But I mean, this is kind of where I think Republicans knew that this could be. It's an off-year election. Things tend to go this way. Mamdani coming into New York, it's fascinating to see sort of the fact of the matter is Cuomo lost him, but he really wasn't running a primary before. Perhaps in these past few weeks, in the last few days, in the last few hours, maybe some New Yorkers took a hard look at this and said, do we really want a communist socialist here in Gracie Mansion?
Well, yeah, and I have to say, too, to add to all this coverage, which you guys were correct in thus far this hour, which is, Cuomo and Winsome Sears had really a main problem here, along with President Trump, as you noted, Ed, talking about Winsome Sears. They never actually said what they were for. A lot of the ads I saw here in Northern Virginia and the Washington, D.C. market, Abigail Spanberger, she was very vague, obviously, claiming that she wanted to take politics out of schools, which was a complete farce. But she talked about wanting to get costs down and wanting to protect jobs in Virginia. Whereas Winsome Sears was so far behind in the money race, she just didn't really have a message. She changed campaign staffs a few times behind the scenes from what I heard. And then with Cuomo, as you point out, Bianca, it really only in the last couple of days or weeks has he actually captured a message about what he is actually for, a bulwark standing saying we need to stop all this coming into New York. But otherwise, we're running into the issue again, is just voter enthusiasm.
Real
Zoran,
quick, who also won't say who they're for is Chuck Schumer. I want to play the Senate Minority Leader from New York was asked point blank about this. Here's what he said to reporters about Mamdani. All right, we're trying to cue that up. But he says, I voted and I look forward to working with the next mayor to help New York City. He would not say who he voted for. He did not endorse him. He won't take a stand. I mean, obviously, with the Jewish community, I mean, so right there, hiding, won't say who we vote for. Or we have it now. All right.
And we'll just say, we looked at the late night comedy shows, and 95% of all jokes about the New York City mayor race concerned Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sewell. It did not have to do with Zoran Mamdani. Why? Because Zoran Mamdani was one of them. He is part of the Soak the Rich, Bane, Dark Knight Rises villain come to life in New York City with a smiley face. If he weren't just such a bitter liberal anti-Trumper, Jonah Goldberg's book, Liberal Fascism, predicted this kind of thing. That it wouldn't be the authoritarian fist that came to America, a la the Soviet Union or other revolutions of the far left over the years across the globe. It would be this kind of smiley face talking about costs and speaking to people's genuine concerns, but feeding them this idea that other people are why not doing well. And it's not that Democratic policies have failed, it's just they haven't been implemented correctly.
Absolutely. All right, Curtis, appreciate your insights from Newsbusters. We'll stay on top of this all night long. By the way, that Attorney General's race in Virginia, Jay Jones, the Democrat, still clinging to a 2 or 3 point lead. We'll stay on top of that. Polls about to close in New York City in about 9 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Our coverage live tonight is just beginning, right after a quick break.
Rick Leventhal reported on the biggest stories of our time. Now he's fighting to bring you the truth, no matter what it takes. Watch The Leventhal Report, weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax 2.
Truth be told, I never graduated from college.
He didn't graduate college, but Steve Jobs built Apple, one of the most successful companies in history. He was destined to change the world, but his greatness was not apparent at birth. Born in San Francisco to a Muslim father from Syria and a young American woman from Wisconsin, he was put up for adoption and found his new parents in Paul and Clara Jobs. Young Steve developed a love of creating things in his father's garage workshop. School was never a place for him. Jobs left college after just 1 semester and joined the Homebrew Computer Club, where he met a computer genius named Steve Wozniak. It was the 1970s, with flower children everywhere. Steve had his own 7-month stint at an Indian ashram, learning the tenets of Buddhism before returning to California. In 1976, again working out of his garage, Jobs and Wozniak created the Apple I, proving the practicality and affordability of personal computers. 1 year later, Apple's sales soared to $139 million. But to work for Apple, you needed this.
We believe that people with passion can change the world.
In 1985, a dispute arose between Jobs and Apple's CEO over the future of the company.
I'm going to go to the board. And he said, I don't believe you'll do it. I said, watch me.
Jobs lost that argument and was fired from the company he founded. But in his own words, Jobs felt the firing was the best thing that happened to him. In 1997, Jobs was rehired by Apple to lead its revitalization. Under his leadership, Macintosh, or the Mac of the 1980s, would soon be eclipsed by the iPhone, iPad, and other amazing transformative devices. A winner most of his life, on October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs lost his battle with pancreatic cancer, but he even faced death philosophically.
Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life.
You're watching An American Life on Newsmax TV.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
Live coverage tonight. Hi, everybody. I'm Bianca Della Garza alongside Ed Henry. Welcome to N2. And we are bringing in now our next guest. She is the co-founder of FreePressVail.com, Corinne Clark. Great to have you. 2 races called, Corinne. They are governor, New Jersey. It is Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat. And in Virginia, it is Abigail Spanberger. We are just minutes away, though, from the mayor's race in New York City. Give us a read on sort of how you're seeing these play out. Obviously, Chitterelli, not as close as people had thought.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I think Republicans had a lot of high hopes for New Jersey, but this isn't too shocking. A blue state voted blue again. And I know there will be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking that wants to blame this loss on Trump and say this is such a bad sign for MAGA. But I think we're seeing more politics as usual here, more than a watershed moment in political history. But I think I think it's sad that we're seeing two women victors in Virginia and in New Jersey that will not bring any victories for women and girls. And that's sad for me as a woman and as a mother of a daughter.
Yeah, that's a great point, because both of these Democratic women were not standing up for women in women's sports. They were both for men in women's sports in New Jersey and Virginia. And this is one of those 80-20 issues that President Trump wins on. But if President Trump's not on the ballot, the other Republicans don't seem to sell it as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. They just really don't sell it. And I think that a lot of other Republicans stay away from cultural issues. We've been a little browbeaten over the years of losses in the Romney era kind of style, where we were told these cultural battles, this is not the hill to die on. This is not what we are going to stand for. And Trump is really the one who got out there and said, yes, these are the absolute cultural battles. These are the hills to die on, because we gave up this one and it keeps getting further, and the slippery slope theory just couldn't be more true. We're seeing the negative effect of that now.
Here's another strange one for you. Virginia Attorney General Jay Jones, with the texting scandal that erupted about a month ago, where he was threatening to kill people, the speaker and his wife. Yeah. He's still leading right now. Jason Mayara's Latino, and he is a Republican. It's right now.
Three-point race right now.
Yeah, three-point race.
69%.
Moral compass, though, in Virginia. Some are saying, how could Jay Jones saying these despicable things, saying that these people he wanted dead, 2 bullets in her head, that they were evil and breeding fascists. He may be now an attorney general, the top of lawmakers here in Virginia. That seems like a preposterous thing that voters have gone with.
It is disgusting. And, I hate to compliment Democrats, but what I will say is that they do something they do really well that Republicans don't do is avoid scandal. I think when something happens in the Republican circles, we're seeing it now. There's a lot of infighting about association and who said something bad and who should condemn someone who knows somebody who said something bad. Democrats do not do that. And we saw that play out in Virginia. These text messages are horrific, disgusting. If anyone had a friend who said anything like this, they would definitely tell that friend to calm down and that it's out of control. But when they asked Abigail Spanberger what she thought about those texts, she had no comment. She did not condemn Jay Jones. None of the Democrats condemned him.
And the guy in Maine with the Nazi tattoo, Graham Plantner, like it was a big thing when someone made a salute, and they were like, oh, when there was Elon, but this guy in Maine has the tattoo. You're right, Corinne.
Yeah, they do not play into the scandal. They do not condemn their own. And I think what we learn is you just prolong. A scandal just lasts longer and longer the more commentary we add onto it. But Democrats are like, I'm not even sure if I've read those. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Just dissolves.
Unbelievable. Corinne Clark, you break it down so well. We appreciate your insights tonight. Our coverage is just beginning. Have a wonderful night. Bianca, we are just about a minute away from the polls closing in New York City. That's going to be the real drama tonight, whether or not a socialist in Zohran Mamdani is going to be elected, a socialist potentially elected in the capitalism capital of the world. How about that?
Already the other states that are expecting an influx of people fleeing. So that is a fascinating race. And, momentum was kind of swinging a little bit towards Cuomo. They have had record early voting and record turnout voting. So,
all right.
That's
we're
a big question.
We're going to reset here at the top of the hour. Our live special election coverage gets going right now. All right, welcome to our special election night coverage and off your election here on Newsmax 2. I'm Ed Henry alongside my colleague Bianca de la Garza, and what a night we have.
Yeah, certainly. We'll be watching the results coming in now from New York. Right now, we've already had 2 governor's races called. Virginia, Democrat Abigail Spanberger will be the next first female governor there.
Commonwealth of Virginia.
And also in New Jersey, it is a loss for the Republican. Jack Ciattarelli could not pull it through. Mikey Sherrill there, despite some of her scandals, despite some of the issues in her campaign, has managed a win there as well. And again, as Ed just said, now it is just after New York. Polls closing. Can Mamdani be the next mayor of New York City?
Yeah, we're going to have, now that the polls are closed, data will be coming in fast and furious. In the meantime, let's get a color of the scene there in New York City. Check in with our correspondent, Joe Moeller. Joe is on the scene in New York tonight. Joe, good evening. What are you seeing and what are you hearing about this big mayoral race?
Hey, good evening to both of you. Yeah, big night here in New York City. A lot of people are watching this race to see what will happen. The polls just closed here officially at 9 o'clock. And so you can imagine a lot of people are sitting by their televisions wondering what will be happening and who will be leading America's largest city. Now, I did talk to some Republicans earlier today who felt a little torn about what to do today when they headed to the polls. At the top of the ticket, we have socialist Zohran Mamdani. We also have former Governor Andrew Cuomo. On the Republican side, Curtis Sliwa making his second run for City Hall. A lot of Republicans were a little anxious today. Many saying they didn't think Sliwa would win, so they felt they had no choice but to vote for Cuomo to simply keep Mamdani out of office. President Trump urged people to do the same when it came to Cuomo over Sliwa. Many also told Sliwa to drop out, but as we know, he stayed in the race. Well, hours ago, I was out in Howard Beach in Queens talking to voters. Oh, well, voters there did talk about this race, many saying they're worried about public safety, and several of them also saying they went into there to cast their ballot and didn't really know what to do, and so they felt they had to vote for Cuomo to simply keep Mamdani out because they're worried about the future of the city. New York City is on the verge of a political shakeup. As many of you know, we've been talking about it for a while. What happens here tonight could echo around the country, testing the future of urban politics in the direction of the Democratic Party heading into 2026. Several of the younger voters I did talk to out in Howard Beach as well say they will be keeping a close eye on what happens tonight to see what the future of this city will be. Again, many bringing public safety up and many wondering what the city will do if Mamdani is put in office and wondering what his first steps will be if he is obviously voted in. We'll see. Polls just closed here at 9 o'clock. Send it back to both of you.
All right, Joe Moeller on the scene in New York City. We'll stay with you all night long. It's interesting because the New York Post is reporting at this hour it's a record turnout for an off-year election in New York City. At least 2 million people turning out today and this evening. Joining us now live. Okay.
But you know who hasn't said whether or not he voted for Mamdani? Is Chuck Schumer.
He won't say.
He was asked, who did you
Just
vote
like he
for?
wouldn't call out, let's say anti-Semitism on college campuses across this great country. It's just really outrageous. We're going to be all over. The data is not coming in, and I'm checking the laptop. The data is not populating yet from New York City. Typically, when the polls close, you start getting it within minutes. That's what we saw in New Jersey and Virginia. They're still counting votes, obviously. The data is still coming in. So we will stay on top of that quickly to review what we already know from tonight. So far, it's been a big night for Democrats. These are blue states traditionally in New Jersey and Virginia. But, in both cases, Republicans had high hopes that were dashed. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, you have a sitting Republican governor in Glenn Youngkin. He's term limited. They only have one term there.
That's right.
His lieutenant governor loses to the Democrat, Spanberger. And then also in New Jersey, Jack Ciattarelli runs for the third time. Republicans had high hopes. He had the backing of President Trump, which Winston Sears didn't have in Virginia, and it wasn't enough for Ciattarelli.
No, it wasn't. But again, it is sort of the anti-Trump. Let's not so much their ideas, just saying we're going to be anti-Trump here, and that's what a lot of folks are going to be looking at as well because of this being an off year, Trump not being on the ballot, and also the government shutdown. You have to wonder how much that sort of got the Democrat base really out and mobilized. See if they reopen the government now in just a few days. Let's bring in our panel. Former Lieutenant Governor for New York State, Newsmax contributor Betsy McCoy, so read into some of the numbers with the voting. Also a columnist for the New York Post, was working with some of the groups there that were trying to stop Mamdani. Great to have you, and also great to have the former senator of Pennsylvania, our senior political analyst, Rick Santorum. He's the senior advisor to the Convention of States. Welcome to you both.
Good to see you both.
Ed and I were just talking, the results sort of start to trickle in for New York. Let's begin there. Betsy, the disaster that awaits New York. Rudy Giuliani's been on your program, my program. He says such a dark day. He feels like he's attending a funeral for New York City. Yet here we are. It does look like Mamdani may have pulled this off. We'll watch the results, but your biggest fear?
Well, my biggest fear is that if Mamdani does win, the New York will descend into criminal bedlam, rapid financial decline, and also unleash gangs of anti-Semitic protesters on college campuses, in the public schools in New York, and even on the streets of New York. It will not be a safe place for our Jewish population. So we've got all of that to face, and more than that, this will have an impact way beyond the 5 boroughs. Commuters from New Jersey and Connecticut will have to worry that they're going to lose their jobs as employers leave the city, and the rest of New York State is going to be dramatically impacted because Mamdani will not only be mayor, he will be the most powerful person in Albany. He's going to control both houses of the legislature. Large blocks of lawmakers have already endorsed him. Governor Kathy Hochul, the spineless governor of New York, has endorsed him and kowtowed to the far left. So we're going to look at statewide rent control, a statewide hike in the corporate tax, and even, you're going to laugh at this one, an extension of what they call juvenile offenders to age 25. Pretty soon you'll have to have an AARP card to get arrested in New York.
Unbelievable. There's a lot of scary notions out there. You're looking on the screen, 35% of the vote in New York City. There's still a lot of counting, obviously. Mamdani right now, as you see, with a 12-point lead over Andrew Cuomo. I can't help but think that if Curtis Lewa was out of the race and that 8% wasn't there, it would be even closer, Senator Santorum. But let's widen the lens because you bring so much perspective. You and I both know, Senator, that in off-year elections, a new president typically loses these gubernatorial races. Joe Biden lost in Virginia to Glenn Youngkin, beating Terry McAuliffe there in 2021 when he was a new president. But the Republicans had high hopes, particularly in New Jersey. What message are you taking from this? I mean, Chitterelli had the strong backing of President Trump, who just came off this big landslide last year, Senator, and right now the Democrats are sweeping the board.
Well, I think you and Bianca were talking about it before it came in, but on the Trump issue, let's just look at since 2016.
Senator, pardon me 1 second. I hate to do this. Senator, pardon me. I just Mamdani is now projected to be the winner. Newsmax now projecting Zohran Mamdani. We've seen enough votes. We've seen the patterns in the counties. And a socialist has now been elected mayor of New York City. You got to take a breath as you take that in. We knew this may be coming, Senator, but it's a lot quicker than we thought. Apologize for the interruption, but it was coming in our ear.
No.
Your thoughts, sir?
Well, yeah, I'll go back to the original question in a minute, but on the Mamdani thing, here's what I would just say to Republicans, and I would caution, alien invaders are attacking the United States because Mamdani won. I mean, the reality is a lot of bad things may happen, but I think what we don't want to do is set the expectations like all these horrible things going to happen. Unlikely anybody is going to be able to do all these horrible things. And if we set the expectation that everything is going to be terrible and it's less than that, then it's like, oh, it wasn't so bad. I think what we say is, look, what this guy is now has to show that he can govern. Let's wait and see what he does. Wait and see what New York will let him do, what the governor will let him do. Yeah. But they say socialism works. Okay, let's see. But I think going out there and spinning this tale that all these terrible things are going to happen actually sets the bar to where he can get over it. And I think that's probably a more dangerous thing for a Republican. And Trump is bound to do that. He's bound to say all these horrible things that Mamdani will do. And be honest with you, he won't be able to do most of them. And so I think that's you don't want to make it easy for him to be successful. And that's the caution I would say. On the other question you asked me, which is what happened tonight, in large part, you're right. I mean, elections after the presidential election, particularly in New Jersey and Virginia, which are blue states, don't go well for Republicans. Yep. And if you look at the fact that both in New Jersey and in Virginia, right track, wrong track was 2-1, wrong track versus right track. You don't win a lot of elections if you're the party in power and it's 2-1 against you. If you look at how people voted, there were exit polls that said, again, twice as many people who were Democrats voted against Trump than Republicans voted for Trump. So twice as many Democrats, like 40%, their vote was against Trump versus only 20% their vote was for Trump. The bottom line is, if you look at the history since 2016, Trump and Republicans do well when Trump's on the ballot. They have not done well when Trump is not on the ballot. Why? Because there's two reasons. Number one, Trump gets a lot of people out to vote who don't come out when he's not on the ballot. And number two, there are a lot of voters who vote for Trump who aren't really Republicans, who don't vote for Republicans down ballot. And so both those things have an impact. And so for me, I wasn't surprised at all. A little surprised at some of the march, particularly New Jersey. I thought it would be a little closer, but not surprised at all that this is not a good night. Pennsylvania, we had talked about this earlier, Bianca, about the judicial races in Pennsylvania. I mean, the polls have been closed for an hour. It's already been called for all three Democrats are going to get retained. So this is going to be a very bad night for Republicans, a very good night for Democrats. And so the best way I always say, and I did this on every election where Democrats did well, okay, let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. This is what you voted for. Okay, here's what you're going to get.
Yeah, real quick, Betsy, we got to move on, but real quick response.
Yeah, it was a surprise in New Jersey in this sense, however, that Mikey Sherrill was a lackluster, scandal-tarred candidate.
Yeah.
And New Jerseyans, in general, have never voted the same party into the gubernatorial seat 3 times in a row. And this is the first time that this has happened since the 1960s.
Incredible.
So it really was a massacre for Jack Ciattarelli.
All right, Betsy, Rick, we appreciate your insights. Thank you. Let's move on to Jim McLaughlin. You know him as a pollster for President Trump. McLaughlin and Associates worked on the 2024 Trump campaign, which, as we recall, was a landslide. Jim, good to see you. Not such a good night for Republicans, as you just heard Senator Santorum accurately report. And Mamdani in the city that we're both from, that we both love, New York City. Mamdani, a socialist, we are now projecting has won. Your reaction?
Oh, it's a bad day for New York. Look, I was born in the Bronx, and I still have a lot of family in the New York area. I still live in the New York City area, and to think that the bastion of capitalism is now being governed by a socialist who's probably closer to being a Marxist as opposed to a socialist. It's a bad day. I mean, there's no question about it. And forget the lack of experience, but this guy has some really, really extreme views. His whole attitude about wanting to tax the rich, when you have the top 1%, they already pay 48% of the taxes in New York City, and now he's going to tax those people out there. So it's a really bad sign. But from a campaign standpoint, as somebody who's been working on campaigns for a long time, you got to have somebody to beat somebody. And the problem is the two other main candidates that were on the ticket, they were just flawed candidates that never really connected with the electorate.
Yeah, and Jim, and maybe Eric Adams staying in too long, Curtis Sliwa not dropping out. Of course, there's going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. In this case, Wednesday morning. But let's talk about, but also Republicans can glean a lot. Now they can sort of dig into some of the data because we know the Democrats are in disarray. These are blue states. So not surprising here. So now we can look at some of it. Obama being in Newark. How much did the Democrats really gain? Because obviously the black vote, the Hispanic vote was such a swing towards President Trump, even the youth vote. So I think, Jim, if you can kind of touch into now, okay, these races go this way tonight, but heading into the midterms, now there's some real data and to understand and finer points here of perhaps perfecting some of the messages. Maybe it's better candidates as well. Some say these candidates were just not as good, like in New York City, as you just alluded to.
Yeah. And look, obviously very different races, different dynamics between, say, New Jersey and New York. But the number one issue, and we've been seeing this for a long time, is affordability issues. As Jack Ciattarelli used to talk about, is we have an affordability crisis. And what happened was the American people got crushed under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's inflation. And even though there's real signs out there and there's real data that the economy's getting better, that, Stephen Moore's group came out and said, hey, folks have $1,100 more in their pockets as a result of President Trump's policies. But it's going to take a while for this to all sink in with the American people. And, like the Democrats, like somebody like Mikey Sherrill, who basically her first ad out of the box was a flat out lie against Jack Ciattarelli. She said he wanted to raise the sales tax up to 10%, which was totally not true. She didn't even take it out of context. But the Democrats, they play to keep. And they play to win. So, we gotta buckle up. And we start
I
working,
do also
and we got to make sure.
want to know, too, on the screen here, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, the first female woman Muslim ever elected to statewide office. Mandami, Muslim. You've got the Minneapolis mayor race we're watching as well. I mean, there is going to be sort of a question about the socialists, where some of the money was coming in. Obviously, there was a concern enough from Alyssa Slotkin, who's going to be running for New York governor, Elise Stefanik, that is, to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, talking about we need the Department of Treasury to look at CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. I mean, they funneled so much money into Mamdani. They have ties to Hamas. So while he may have won, there's also going to be this reverb as they dig into money and things he has said in the past. All of this is still going to come out.
Yeah, and as I always tell folks, the Democrats always find the money. They always find the money. In the Virginia governor's race, they outspent us 2-1. Mikey Sherrill spent about $20 million more than what Jack Ciattarelli spent. And look, it's going to be interesting to look at some of these funding sources to see where the money was coming here. Because, you know, the Democrats love to talk about, and they went after President Trump for saying that, you know, there was election interference, which we all found out was a hoax, when usually the real foreign interference that happens in these elections is coming from the Democrats and their friends.
Let's, I got 30 seconds, but let's look forward then to those midterms. Axios had a piece about a week ago saying, hey, the silver lining for Republicans if Mamdani wins is he's going to be the face of the Democrat Party, and they're going to weaponize Mamdani, your party, in 2026. Your thoughts on that? True?
Oh, look, we're seeing outside of New York City, he had really high negatives in northern New Jersey. Out in Long Island, his negatives are close to 70%. In the Hudson Valley, they're in the mid-60s. So he's extremely unpopular. And on the issues that they care about most, socialism doesn't work. It's going to make these affordability problems that much worse.
They're calling him the best realtor ever, Mandami, to other states.
Florida Realtor of the Year, maybe Texas Realtor of the Year as well. A lot of people moving out of New York City, which is funny on one hand and very sad on the other, because this is really going to mean people's jobs, and they're going to be taxed and regulated in a bad way. Jim McLaughlin, always appreciate your insights. Our special live coverage here continues at NEWSMAX2. A lot of data still coming in. Don't forget, out on the West Coast, we have Prop 50 in California. We're going to check in with our friend Steve Hilton. He's running for governor in the great state of California, wants to succeed Gavin Newsom, who's pushing through this Prop 50 to try to take some Republican seats out of the U.S. House. We'll get into that after a quick break.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morse's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today. Will you be able to afford your golden years? Do you worry how you'll make ends meet? You may be leaving up to $100,000 unclaimed. You need this special report. How to boost your Social Security and retirement by at least $100,000 or more. Get your free copy today. You've earned the benefits. Take advantage now. See our special offer to claim your free report. Call or go online today.
If you could help reduce the urge to go to the bathroom due to your aging prostate, if you could improve your energy levels because you're getting a better night's sleep, would you? Of course you would. And now you can, with the help of Prostate Revive, the premium dietary supplement for men whose lives, sleep, and energy levels are affected due to the concerns of an aging prostate. It was specially formulated for men by noted medical doctor, Dr. David Brownstein.
Prostate Revive is really about healthy aging. It contains a plant sterol called beta-sitosterol, combined with 15 other important ingredients. Prostate Revive's exclusive formula helps promote normal prostate function, and that means you can reduce the urge to go and finally get a good night's sleep.
Here's how you can try Prostate Revive risk-free.
Simply call or visit our website now and we'll send every new customer a risk-free 30-day trial of Prostate Revive. You discover the low shipping and handling. This is a $39.95 value, so don't delay. Call or go online today.
Welcome back to NEWSMAX2's big, beautiful coverage tonight of these off-year elections. That's a perfect segue to Bianca de la Garza. Ed Henry here as well. What a night.
Yeah, and it's looking like a night that the Democrats will use as a narrative, as a springboard. But of course, these are blue states. The races, most of them, most recently going to Mondami, and then of course in Virginia and New Jersey, Democratic governors. We want to welcome in Katrina Zish and Tom Basile now at the
There you
election
got the election desk live in New York City tonight. A big night in New York City for socialist Zohran Mamdani. Guys, what are you hearing about the data? What are we learning tonight?
Well, you know, it's looking like Mondami is going to run away with it. And just looking at some of the data coming in right now, about 50% of the vote, 52% of the vote in Mondami, winning by more than 10 points in Brooklyn and in the Bronx, and within 10 in Queens and Manhattan. Cuomo winning in Staten Island right now. But what's interesting is that if you take the numbers as they exist right now and you pull Sliwa and Adams out, the margin between Cuomo and Mondami shrinks to under 10,000 votes. So clearly, the fact that this was a four-way race, and Adams and Sliwa still on the ballot, really was an advantage to Mondami and has widened this lead to about 10 points at this point. We're going to continue to track this as it goes along, and it continues to come in here.
That's right. And also, we want to point out for those of you who are watching who might say, okay, I don't live in New York City, I don't care. We also want to keep our eyes on the fact that a lot of the Mamdani effect, that's what people are calling it, particularly with young voters, is something that we're seeing spread across the country. Young voters are almost uniting under this truly socialist communist umbrella, and it will remain to be seen how this will play out across the country. So that is also something we're looking at right now.
Already. We're still waiting for data from the left coast, obviously, to see what's going on in California. We'll check in with Steve Hilton in just a quick minute.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we want to get to New Jersey.
Yeah, a tough loss tonight for Jack Ciattarelli with Trump's endorsement, with a tele-rally. Christina Thompson spent a few days with the candidate, and tonight, unfortunately, will not be a victory speech for him. That beautiful moment with his son, who is serving, who flew back and surprised him. So many touching moments in the end here, and the concern about energy costs, crime, just he couldn't pull it through somehow there tonight. Tell us about the mood inside the room where you are, Christina. This is a tough one for those supporters.
Right. I mean, the mood is still one of, hopefulness for the future, right? Because as we look at a state like New Jersey, every single election, it does become more and more of a purple state. Take, for instance, President Donald Trump in 2024 here, that presidential election, only losing by 6 points. Normally, when you think about a state like New Jersey, Republican candidates lose by 15, sometimes even 20 points. So that right there is a win. When you look at Jack Ciattarelli's race from 2021, right, only losing to outgoing Governor Phil Murphy by 3 points. That margin, so small in the margin in this race, another very, very razor-thin margin. I love that you brought up his son, because that was such a touching moment yesterday on one of his final campaign rallies. To have that moment with his son, to be able to hug him, it really just showed what a wonderful human being Jack Ciattarelli is at heart. And, he said that day he already has the most important titles. He's a father, he's a son, he's a husband, and that is to him his heart and what's important to him. And I think you can tell that by the atmosphere here in this room today, the people who showed up, who are showing him love and support and kindness. It is not a win for him tonight. However, I know that he's going to keep looking towards the future and pushing for a better New Jersey.
Thompson, absolutely. We can still hear people there waiting to hear from him. We're going to dip in live as we get some of these candidates, winners and losers, coming out. Christina Thompson live in New Jersey for us. Thanks, you. Christina. Let's broaden the conversation now. As I mentioned, we still have polls open out there in the great state of California. Prop 50 among many important measures on the ballot. That's the one that the Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to jam through to essentially take some Republican U.S. House seats and flip them to the Democrat column. So let's welcome in now a friend, California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. Steve, always great to check in with you, here with Bianca. We also have him, Rick Leventhal, alongside him. He's, of course, a great host here on N2. Steve, I wonder what you're thinking tonight as a candidate for governor. You've been raising a lot of money. You've been working so hard. I know it might not translate what's going on in New Jersey and Virginia, but there were a lot of Republicans like you, I'm sure, who came in tonight thinking, hey, President Trump's knocking out win after win. Inflation's coming down. The border is secure. And the Republicans should win at least some of these races, Steve. Does this dishearten you about the midterms? What hope are you getting out of this?
Well, my plan is to work harder, fight harder, and bring the change we need in California, which is actually even more urgent than in anywhere else in the country, because Gavin Newsom and the corrupt Democrat machine have messed up in California more than anywhere else, and the outcomes are worse than anywhere else. And that's the basis of the argument that'll be on the ballot next year in California. I'm very confident we're going to get change here in California because people are sick of all this nonsense. In terms of the results tonight, I mean, I'm sad about Jack Ciattarelli. He was a great candidate, I thought, and I was optimistic that he would be able to pull it off. Obviously, I'm not there. I wasn't there, and I don't know what went on, but I thought he fought a very good fight. He had an optimistic message, and it's just a disappointing result. Mamdani, I think, was expected, but to see the role there of the way the math has worked out is obviously very frustrating. But again, you look at that and you say, well, if what we get from him is what we expect and what past has predicted with these kinds of extreme left socialists, then that's another strong argument for avoiding more of the same in California. So I feel energized. I see these events, and I think that's going to be me next year, and I want to make sure that I'm a winner.
There you go. And we're looking, by the way, Bianca, live look there. It looks like Mamdani headquarters, and they're looking at a big screen of Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, who's obviously conceding and pointing his fingers, but there's going to be a lot of finger pointing back at him, Bianca, for not getting out of this race. He had about 8% in some of the recent early data that's coming in. Still a lot of votes to be counted in New York. But if he had gotten out of the race and those votes went to Cuomo, this is a much closer race, obviously.
Unfortunately, it did not go that way. Rick, you're also in California. I've lived there at one point. I mean, Gavin Newsom, the hypocrisy. We know his eyes are set on 2028. He sunk a lot of money into Prop 50. Looks like it'll go that way. But elections do have consequences. And to Steve's point here, let's see what New York looks like in a year. Let's see how many people flee, leave California, leave New York, come to other states where Republicans are not going to tax them like they're taxing them. The state of California is going bankrupt, and Gavin Newsom sipping Merlot as wildfires are burning. People still have not rebuilt their homes. So while this may be a win and Democrats are buoying themselves, Rick, you live there. Steve, you live there. This is a reality for people. They just can't get up and move these, these states. Some of them, especially in the Latino community here, will depend on some of their jobs. Rick, I'll start with you on the Prop 50 measure here and how you're feeling about this.
Well, Prop 50, to me, it's a joke, and this state is already gerrymandered beyond belief. Out of the 52 House seats, you got 9 Republicans, even though about 40% of voters vote Republican here. It should be like 6-4, and it's 12-1 if Prop 50 goes through and they lose 5 more seats. It'll be, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, I think it's 48-4 would be the numbers. 48-4, which is basically 12-1. Democrats to Republicans. It's absolutely unfair to every Republican who lives in this state. As far as Gavin Newsom is concerned, yeah, he's going to run for president, but anytime anybody looks at his record here in California, they're going to find a whole lot of issues, including #1 in homelessness, #1 in the lack of job opportunities, #1 in the highest rent prices across America, except maybe Hawaii. I mean, it goes on and on and on. He's not done a good job here in this state. He continues to do a poor job. But he looks good, and people like a good-looking candidate, so maybe he has a shot.
How does Jay Jones win? Nancy Pelosi, Steve, called Donald Trump vile, like the worst thing on earth, she said. This was just in the past few days. The rhetoric out of the left is so horrific. And we just had there the Lieutenant Governor, Jay Jones, who beat Jason Miyares for Attorney General after the text messages, Steve, where he was threatening to kill and shoot people in their head. How how he can now be the top law enforcement person in Virginia is absolutely stunning to most of us sitting here who have a moral compass, Steve.
Yeah, but you're totally right. That is an absolutely extraordinary outcome. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of what happens in Virginia, but I tell you, the reason, it may be the same reason, that this outrageous, corrupt, and unconstitutional power grab in California, Prop 50, which is basically all about pushing Gavin Newsom's presidential ambitions, the reason it looks like it's going to go through is entirely the corrupt Democrat machine, which is funded by the unions, in particular the government unions. Remember, that's basically taxpayer money. You have Soros money. You have all of this. That's the reason that you're going to get this likely result in California. There's still time to vote, by the way. Go out and stop Gavin Newsom if you can.
Yeah, the polls are still open, as you say, to 11 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead.
But Bianca, I really want to very much underline what you just said. Guess where I will be tomorrow at a press conference with my response to these results in Pacific Palisades, pointing out, Ed, you were there with me.
I was.
That was the 6-month anniversary, standing in front of a pile of rubble where Gavin Newsom promised to clean it up and do a Marshall Plan, and nothing happened. It's barely moved on since then. I'll be back there tomorrow reminding everyone what a total failure he is. I would, more than Rick said, he's one of the, it's a total catastrophe. I use this term, President Trump obviously ran for office, Make America Great Again, MAGA. Gavin Newsom, when he runs for president, it'll be MUGA, most useless governor in America.
But he's slick. And the media on the left plays right into him, gives him the softballs, talks about his hair.
Jump in, Rick.
Yeah.
Can I say something about that, about Jay Jones winning? That tells me that people aren't really paying attention, and the news media isn't being honest with voters. People are watching MS, they're watching CNN, they're watching local news. They're not getting the truth. They're not hearing what he actually did because it's being underreported, because the Democrats are running the media there, and they're listening to their own media, and they're not getting the whole picture. They're not getting the full story, and people aren't doing enough research. The more they read, the more they know about these candidates, the better off we'll all be.
Well, they're going to get to know him now because he's in.
Before we go, Steve, your thoughts. You've spent some time talking to President Trump over the years as a TV talk show host now, running for governor and doing a great job and clearly picking up steam and picking up money and momentum and all the rest of it. What would be your advice to President Trump tonight and tomorrow morning as he picks up the pieces? Is this a one-off in a couple of states? What does this tell him about how maybe he approaches the government shutdown in the days ahead? What lesson do you think President Trump should take out of this?
Honestly, not that much, frankly. I think you've got local factors here. You've got the machine. I agree with Rick in terms of the attention and what dominated. I think President Trump needs to keep delivering great results for America, which is what he's been doing. This extraordinary presidency, and I think that is the focus, because in the end, I think great results are rewarded, and they will be next year, as well as bad results, which we've got here in California, being punished. And that's going to be the basis of my campaign for governor next year.
All right, Steve Hilton, good luck to you. We'll have you back in the days ahead. Rick Leventhal, check him out here on Newsmax 2.
Great to have you guys.
7 p.m. Eastern, every single weeknight. Always good to talk and check in with both of them.
We have a live speech right now. Let's take you to Winsome Earl Sears' concession speech right now in Leesburg, Virginia, losing to Abigail Spanberger for governor there.
How dare you stand in the doorway of a parent that says, I want something different for my child. Please give me the money. I am low income, but can you give me some money that I can choose a school that I believe is best for my child? We've celebrated the 71st anniversary of Brown versus Board of Ed. And what was that about? Was it about the worship of a brick building? No. It was about the parents being able to decide where to send their children to school. That's still the option that parents want to have. Folks, I ran a race, again, based on foundational ideas that would, well, repeal the car tax, protect our girl children especially, and not create sexual trauma for them in bathrooms and locker rooms and in their sports. And I ran a race to expand our economy. When I had my business, it thrived. I started my business in the Great Recession. We did very well in a recession. And then COVID came, and we did very well in COVID as well. But it was the decision of the then governor that caused my business to close. And so it matters who the governor is. Policies matter. And to be safe matters, because to be governor.
All right, Winsome Earl-Sears there, the losing candidate in the Commonwealth of Virginia. She says policies matter. I got to tell you, candidates matter as well. As we were just hearing from Steve Hilton and others, I'm looking at Alex Brusewitz as an advisor to President Trump. He's on X right now saying, look, the lesson that the president and his team will take from this is that these candidates do matter and that you have to go all in on MAGA. Winsome Earl-Sears, as I said earlier, a couple of years ago, said, we need to move on from President Trump. We need a new Republican Party. That is not where the Republican Party is, and that's not where the country is, because he won the Electoral College. He won the popular vote.
Yeah.
He won all 7 swing states, as you know, Bianca. So the country is with President Trump and this common sense agenda, and Winsome Earl-Sears was partly in after the fact, but not all in.
No, an uphill battle, too. Being in Virginia, a lot of the federal workers, the government shut down. And obviously, when it was Youngkin, he did have, with Terry McAuliffe saying how they wanted to take care of the kids. So we got a little bit last time. You know, he had that really interesting kind of moment there.
By the way, cheers going on right now, as you can see.
We're waiting for Mamdani to come out any moment now.
And what a speech. This is going to be very closely watched. You see all these young people, and they're going to be dancing all night long.
Let me guess, he's going to be smiling.
Yes.
Big
and there'll be a lot of selfies, and there'll be a lot of promises about free stuff. But how he's going to pay for it is going to be a big question moving ahead. And I think we've already raised the question about how much of this agenda that he keeps promising he can really get done. The mayor of New York City, a powerful position, but certainly not the governor, not somebody who's got a magic wand, who's going to push through all kinds of executive action. So we're going to watch New York City and go live when Zohran Mamdani gives his victory speech any moment now. We'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Bianca de la Garza and Ed Henry here all night here live with Newsmax 2, bringing you the results. Oh, hang on. It looks like Mamdani is coming out.
Wait for it. Yeah, we're not going to go to break. You know, and when you look at the numbers, there's going to be a lot of talk about why Sliwa did not drop out, because Cuomo was able to surge in the last few days here. So we're hearing he's walking out. Let's just stay with this live picture for another moment or two, because
there's a lot of cameras in the front.
Yeah.
He might be out of frame right now at the bottom of the front of that crowd, because you see a lot of activity. All right, we're going to take that quick break as promised, and right after this, we'll have Zohran Mamdani.
Future music icon was born Gloria Maria Milagrosa Fajardo Garcia in Havana, Cuba on September 1st, 1957. But the world would come to know her as the singing sensation Gloria Estefan. At the age of 2, her family escaped communist Cuba and fled to Miami. Graduating high school with honors, Gloria became an American at age 17 and went on to earn a college degree from the University of Miami. While still attending college, Gloria performed an impromptu duet at a relative's wedding. It was there she met her future husband, Emilio Estefan, and the band she would make famous, the Miami Sound Machine. After 2 years of dating in 1978, Gloria Garcia married Emilio Estefan Jr., to whom she still refers to as my very first and only boyfriend. Earning worldwide success with her signature song, Conga, Gloria Estefan has 38 #1 hits, sold over 75 million records, and opened the world's marketplace for other Latin artists such as J-Lo, Ricky Martin, and Selena Gomez. Crowned the queen of Latin pop music and considered one of the best-selling female artists of all time, she has earned 3 Grammy Awards, the American Music's Lifetime Achievement Award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom for her music contributions and charity work, as well as a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame, right next to her husbands. In addition to their musical triumphs, Gloria and Emilio Estefan are also successful entrepreneurs with numerous business enterprises, including a minority stake in the Miami Dolphins. When not on world tour, you'll find the two entertainment legends at home here on a private island off the coast of Florida.
Welcome back to our special off-year election coverage. Big night here at Newsmax. We want to go straight to our friend Dick Morris, longtime advisor to President Trump. We may have to interrupt at any moment, Dick, because we've got the socialist who is now the mayor-elect in New York City, Zohran Mamdani. We want to hear your big picture thoughts, Dick, but we got to start with Mamdani. A socialist has been elected in New York. Your reaction?
Well, I think it's very significant for Trump. And
Nothing is off limits to David Harris Jr. And there's no apologies because he's armed with common sense, real faith, and the truth. Don't miss him on The Pulse tonight.
I ask you to join with me in prayer. Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation, this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic, our religion, and our civilization, and to set free a suffering humanity. Lead them straight and true. Give strength to their arms, stoutness to their hearts, steadfastness in their faith. They will need thy blessings. Their road will be long and hard. For the enemy is strong. He may hurl back our forces. Success may not come with rushing speed, but we shall return again and again. And we know that by thy grace and by the righteousness of our cause, our sons will triumph, and a peace that will let all men live in freedom, reaping the just rewards of their honest toil. Thy will be done, Almighty God. Amen.
Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country.
Before Charlie Kirk died, he issued a stark warning of terrifying dangers ahead in a new book, Pagan Threat, authored by Pastor Lucas Miles. Charlie said Pagan Threat could save America and that you must read it. Get Pagan Threat free with Newsmax's special offer. Plus, get Dick Morris's new book, The Real Charlie Kirk. 2 great books with our free offer today.
to get attention. They want people to pay attention to them and their problems. And there's always the risk when you have a president as successful as Trump is, that he gets involved in international numbers and the Peace and Nobel Prize, and he forgets the folks back home.
Yeah,
and that's what happened.
Dick, I Pardon me, I get your message loud and clear, right? He can go to Saudi Arabia and come back with $1 trillion in a new investment in America. Sounds wonderful. Wall Street's going crazy, but people are not feeling it, at least not yet, at their kitchen table. I think the counter argument would be, I go to the gas pump and I'm paying a lot less. And I feel like a lot of people in our audience are paying less. That inflation has come down. Grocery prices, it's a mixed bag. Eggs have come down. We heard a lot about that. Meat and other things are definitely still high, Dick. So what would be your advice to the president then moving forward? Because he's accomplishing a lot. He got the border secure. That's a big darn deal. But how do you fix this?
Take some of the money that he's getting from abroad and give it away back home. Bring home the bacon. You've gotten billions of dollars from these countries, in some cases trillions, great trade deals for the United States, great statistics. Give us back some of it. give us a rebate of $2,000 a person per family so that we can see the actual difference in front of us on the kitchen table. And if we don't do that, we're not going to win the midterms. And I don't care what the statistics are. The economic statistics are as flawed as the polling statistics were.
Dick, a lot of the things Mondami has promised, many say he cannot deliver on in the position, that it will be, his hands will be tied. So in a way, some people say, okay, he's going to win. Let's see how many people leave New York. Let's see the exodus, which we saw back in 2020. And perhaps that will also buoy the Republicans going into the midterms, because a city like New York, there's only so much people can take. To your point, when it becomes so unaffordable, the taxes, they do look, and even Cuomo said, if I lose, I'm gonna move to Florida. Yeah. He's looking around as well. But the exodus is a very real thing when you look at the numbers.
Going into retirement, I think. He's
the number of businesses, though, that the state needs and relies upon, if that dries up, there's some serious trouble there for New York City.
Well, 2 million people in the last 10 years in New York. California has lost, New Jersey, 500,000. How many more are we going to lose? We're going to lose many more. But the more they lose, look at Detroit. It means the only voters left are Democrats. The only voters left are those who want welfare and those who want the free stuff, and they stay. And ultimately, you can't afford it, and it becomes a black hole. But New York City is a long ways away from that. And unless Trump wants to hold that happening during his presidency, he's got to take some of these things that he's done for the country and do them for the city and the state.
There you go. Dick Morris with some great insight and analysis tonight. As always, Dick, we appreciate your time. Let's keep it rolling because we've got another important person to talk to. He's a key Republican on Capitol Hill. His name is Andy Biggs from the great state of Arizona. There he is, our friend. Congressman, always great to see you, a friendly face. Not a great night for Republicans. I think Dick Morris laid it on the line. What's your reaction to him about going into the midterms? Hey, the president can secure the border. He can get Mideast peace. He can bring trillions of dollars in new investment in America. All big victories, but maybe the American people are not feeling it at the kitchen table. Your reaction and maybe how you fix that as a Republican Party going into 2026.
Well, good to be with you, first of all. And then when I look at it, never forget what you've got. You've got New Jersey with almost a million more Democrats. New York City, like 7 or 8 to 1 Democrat to Republican ratio. Northern Virginia basically is solid blue. So, I mean, this can't be a huge surprise that we saw this coming. Now, do I think Dick Morris is right? I do think that personal economy, is always the front and center motivator for people voting. I mean, it just is. And, you know, if you're a border state like Arizona, you're going to throw in border and the crime that comes with border incursions, et cetera. But I do think as the economy gets better, personally, as the energy prices continue to drop, that will bring down other prices and people will be starting to feel freer economically. And when people feel free economically, they tend to vote red. And that's what I think is going to happen over probably the next 6-8 months. I don't think the shutdown helped in Northern Virginia either. So, I mean, I just think that this can't be a big surprise to some of us who are watching this. But going forward, I think we can take care of some other issues and bring people home to us.
Yeah, and we have to watch as you mentioned, the shutdown. Today was the 14th vote. It failed. Many people said that the Democrats wanted to get through the elections. But let's talk about, you know, when you look at Mondami, okay, the repercussions across the country. If he's the face, if AOC's the Democrat face, if people like Jasmine Crockett, I mean, there's still a bench versus Democrats and Republicans that is so substandard on the left. You have Nancy Pelosi saying that President Trump is vile. They're still using that rhetoric. We have the Attorney General, Jay Jones, in Virginia. He won, Congressman Biggs. He said he wanted to shoot a woman and have her kids watch her die. I mean, the mindset of these people, some say it's not the Democratic Party, it's people like Mondami. It is the radical left. Schumer has been kowtowing to them, afraid of a primary by AOC. Democrats are winning, but this is not a Democrat Party that anyone can actually say is like the Democrats before, completely taken over by the radical left.
100%. I agree with you 100%. This is not the Democrats of JFK. This is not even the Democrats of Walter Mondale, for Pete's sakes, or Tip O'Neill. What you have is a very radical, small portion of the Democrats that are basically coming through and running this out. Now, you're seeing a lot of young people who voted for Mondami, but guess what? You have a lot of young people coming over to the Republicans on the conservative side. That was the Charlie Kirk effect. So you're seeing that split as well. But I tend to agree with you that that the Democrats have become even harder core and married to that hard leftist position. And as they become married to that position, I actually believe you're going to see states, which I think, like Arizona, who's center right, I think Arizona is going to be moving more to the red. I think you're going to see some other of these battleground states are going to start saying, look, we can't take that kind of rhetoric. We can't take those kind of policies. And I think they're going to start moving to Republicans. And the way that works is we start producing a set of policies that actually brings personal attainment and opportunity. And when that happens, I think people say, look, I don't need the free stuff. I'm willing to work. I just want to have a good job. I want to be able to live my life.
Absolutely.
Without you interfering.
Yeah, and that's Donald Trump's America right now. There's a lot of good things going on for people, but I think, as you and Dick Morris laid out, there's got to be maybe a better effort among some of the candidates down ballot to sell that case. And certainly there were some blue areas that got a little bluer tonight. So, Andy Biggs, always great to check in with you. We appreciate your insight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thanks, Bianca. Thanks, Ed.
Let's get some insight from another good friend, Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Important because she's also from the great state of New York, and there's a lot happening in the state we share. That's where I'm from, Congresswoman. Your reaction to a socialist winning the mayor's office and what this means for the state, what this means for the city.
Look, I'm not surprised. They were showing projections all along that he's been leading this race, and this multiple party race is what you get when you have a splitter. You know, these people like this can get elected. And it's unfortunate. I don't think he's a socialist. I think he's a Marxist. I think he's an anti-Semite. And he's going to impact New York State negatively. Obviously, New York City is going to be less safe. It's going to be extremely costly, and you're going to see mass outmigration. You know, the polling is showing anywhere from 750,000 to 1 million people have answered interviews saying they will leave New York City and probably nearby areas of New York State, you know, near the boroughs. And, you know, this is what we've seen in New York, the highest outmigration in our state than any other state, because people can't fight the machine of the socialists, the Marxists, the outside money that created this Mondami phenomenon. Well, it was not a grassroots thing. It was from outside money.
That's right. It's such a good point. I just want to touch on that because the Democrat Socialists of America, which he is affiliated with, they hate the Democrats. They've sort of walked into this, and now we had people talking about the money, that 80% Muslim coming from CARE. I'm looking at a letter, Congresswoman Tenney. It's from Elise Stefanik and Tom Cotton, and it was to Scott Bessent just a few weeks ago. They are very concerned that CAIR, C-A-I-R, is connected to Hamas, and they're very concerned about some of the money that has gone from super PACs into Mondami's campaign as well. I mean, yes, he has won, but the fact we're coming up, you know, in New York, 9/11, 25 years, we're going to have a Muslim and a socialist Democrat in that city here. And there's a lot of concern about the money that has been going to him. Some of it had to be given back last week. His mother coming out saying he doesn't feel like he's American. He's Ugandan. He's Indian. He's not American. Not assimilating. And, you know, we have other states that are trying to push Sharia law. I mean, what happens in New York with some of these, the very radical groups that Mondami has not distanced himself from it at all?
Well, look, this is a real problem. I mean, this is the money that's coming in. And remember who complains about the dark money the most? The Democrats. And yet they take more dark money, so-called dark money, than the Republicans do. And it's incredible. They cry foul, but they're willing to take that money. And it's how they build, you know, these types of candidacies like Mamdani, AOC, you know, supposedly answered a casting call. I bet Mamdani sort of answered a casting call. And you're going to have this, you know, same kind of, you know, look who else won. Alvin Bragg, all these corrupt corrupt type of attorney general. Jay Jones won in Virginia. I mean, the people are who are electing these people, and who's got the money behind them to push it. Soros has been pushing an agenda to put district attorneys in place that will do his bidding for a long time. It's not just Soros, as you identified. There's CARE and numerous other groups that are taking over this country and manipulating voters. They do it through social media. They do it with the decentralized type of media that we have now, where no one really knows where to turn. There's no verification. They can turn to our stations, but there's so many, nobody really knows what who's telling the truth, and they're getting sucked in by this. And you can see by the voters, the younger voters went for Mamdani because he's smiling, he's a snake oil salesman, and everything that Reagan said. We're one generation away from losing what we have.
They're promising
and that's where
all
we are,
kinds.
one generation.
Yeah, and promising all kinds of free stuff to that next generation. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, we always appreciate your insight. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so we are waiting for Zohran Mamdani to come out and claim officially his victory in New York City. And we're going to check in with our reporters around that great city. Still a great city, but it's being challenged tonight and in the days ahead, and maybe a whole lot of people moving out in the days ahead. Don't go anywhere. Bianca and Ed back for a brand new hour right after this.
Rick Leventhal reported on the biggest stories of our time. Now he's fighting to bring you the truth, no matter what it takes. Watch The Leventhal Report, weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax 2.
Ever since I picked up a basketball, I just wanted to play in the NBA. That's all I knew, that's all I thought about. But I never knew I was good enough. I just knew it was something I wanted to do, and if I wasn't good enough, I was gonna make myself good enough.
Born August 23, 1978 in Philadelphia, PA, Kobe Bryant was the youngest of 3 children and the only son of former NBA player Joe Bryant. Joe Bryant moved his family to Italy, where Kobe learned to speak Italian fluently when he was only 6 years old. At age 13, the Bryant family returned to Philadelphia, where Kobe attended Lower Merion High School. All 4 of his high school basketball years were record-breaking, culminating in 1995 when Adidas named him Senior MVP of the Year. Kobe Bryant chose not to pursue college and instead went directly to the NBA draft. As he was only 17 at the time, his first contract for $3.5 million had to be co-signed by his parents. At the time, Kobe was the youngest player in the NBA and spent the next 20 years with the Los Angeles Lakers. In November of 1999, Kobe Bryant met 17-year-old Vanessa Lane and fell in love. In May of 2000, they married here at St. Edward the Confessor Catholic Church in Dana Point, California. In 2003, the superstar was arrested on charges of sexually assaulting a 19-year-old employee at this lodge and spa in Colorado. Charges were dropped when the plaintiff refused to testify and chose an out-of-court settlement. Basketball legend Kobe Bryant, along with his 13-year-old daughter and 6 friends, boarded a helicopter at 9:06 a.m. on January 26, 2020. 34 minutes later, the helicopter slammed into a hill above Calabasas, California, killing all on board.
Once upon a time, there was a young basketball player who had dreams of becoming one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
You're watching An American Life on Newsmax TV.
Well, welcome back to our special election night coverage. A brand new hour. I'm Ed Henry alongside Bianca de la Garza. The Democrats largely carrying the night in mostly blue turf. The biggest headline of the night, of course, is a socialist has now been elected mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. We're waiting his arrival any moment, Bianca, at his victory headquarters there to hear what he has to say.
His headquarters in Brooklyn there, you can see it is packed with his supporters. But right now, we want to go over to Manhattan. I believe it's the Ziegfeld Theater, where correspondent John Glasgow is following Andrew Cuomo's campaign. And, you know, President Trump was urging people to go out and vote for Cuomo. There was momentum, but with Sliwa staying in, just not the night, didn't go his way, could not pull off that upset. Tell us about the mood right there inside Cuomo headquarters at this hour, John.
Yeah, a lot of supporters here still waiting around for the concession speech here from the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, who thought at the start of the day, that he was optimistic that he had some momentum coming into election night. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out, as you see there from the votes. Now, a lot of people were, that I spoke to at the polls here this afternoon, they were voting for Cuomo, not necessarily because they supported him, but it was an anti-Mamdani vote. That didn't obviously pan out in terms of swaying the election in Cuomo's favor. However, he did say that, you know, he did distance himself somewhat from President Trump after President Trump endorsed him in that 60 Minutes interview, as well as on Truth Social in the days leading up to this election. So some people here waiting to see what he has to say and what he, you know, will concede to Zohran Mamdani. But a lot of questions now loom. What will this city become? What will it look like now that Zohran Mamdani is taking over the mayor's chair? A lot of people here think that they point to Curtis Sliwa for not dropping out of the race, and that might have changed things in the favor of Andrew Cuomo here tonight. Unfortunately, there's a lot of upset supporters here that they could have maybe at least made this race a little bit closer had Curtis Sliwa had dropped out of the race sooner or at all. But a lot of questions still linger, as I mentioned, whether or not Andrew Cuomo's ground game after that Democratic primary, whether or not he had put enough effort into getting his campaign across the finish line. He wasn't really all that available. If you look at how Zohran Mamdani approached things after the Democratic primary win, well, he went hard on social media, got a lot of young supporters out, and we see that now with the turnout with roughly 2 million people that voted here in New York City. We'll send it back to you guys. We'll wait for the concession speech here.
Yeah, we are.
Thanks,
John Glasgow, we appreciate it, live in Midtown.
Yeah, I mean, the primary was that. Maybe Cuomo thought he didn't have to campaign, and it just came in a little bit too late. Jack Ciattarelli, who has lost in New Jersey, is now speaking. We want to peek in now and take a little listen to his concession speech here in Bridgewater, New Jersey.
And they were confident their 4 children could all do better than they did. And we did, because of what they taught us each and every day, the virtue of hard work. And so throughout this campaign, what we talked about is the people of New Jersey no longer living with any insecurity or fear that their children can't get the education they so rightfully deserve, that their children can't ultimately get the job of their dreams here, that they can't start a business here, that they can't raise a middle-class family here, that they can't retire here. These are all the things that people are terribly insecure of today here in New Jersey. These are all the things that we talked in very specific terms on how to solve. I believe in my brand of leadership. I haven't stopped believing because of the outcome of tonight's election. It is my hope that Mikey Sherrill has heard us.
You can hear Jack Ciattarelli. He came up short tonight, Bianca, and
not even close.
Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat congresswoman, has prevailed. She's now the governor-elect.
Let's listen in. She's in East Brunswick right now with her victory speech here.
The law and the Constitution. But prosperity is equally essential. Liberty alone is not enough if the government makes it impossible for you to feed your family, to get a good education, or to get a good job. So in this country, that shouldn't be too much to ask. But right now, all of it seems at risk. Governors have never mattered more. And in this state, I am determined to build prosperity for all of our citizens. And I've heard from thousands of you about what liberty and prosperity mean to you, what it's going to take for your family to thrive. So I hear you, Newark. I'm going to work with communities from the ground up so all of our neighbors thrive. sham, so I'm going to declare a state of emergency on day one to drive down your utility costs. I hear you, Westfield, so I'm going to make sure our kids are safe online and schools have the resources they need to address the mental health crisis. I hear you, Jersey City, so I'm going to hold government accountable, balancing individual liberty with collective responsibility, ensuring people are safe, healthy, educated, and free to pursue their dreams. I hear you, New Jersey. Good government doesn't just manage problems, it solves them. So I'm going to continue to listen and work with you to move our state forward, because I have learned so much as I've traveled our state. Our innovations, our businesses, our inventors and entrepreneurs have amazed me, but it's the people that have left the biggest mark, especially those who are fighting for prosperity for their entire communities. I was moved during my block walk in Trenton with Shanique as she spoke so passionately about the promise of her city and her neighbors despite the challenges. I love the group of young men from Monroe who've been hard at work on this campaign. They want a seat at the table and they're ready to fight for their future. The little girls who come up to me to say that they're going to be a governor or they're going to be a president.
All right, Mikey Sherrill, the Congresswoman, now the governor-elect of the Garden State. Jack Tittarelli did not get it done tonight, Bianca.
Yeah.
Interesting, she's talking about utility rates and bringing them down when they've gone up to record high under Democrat rule there, Governor Phil Murphy. So let's bring in our friend Carrie Lake. She's acting CEO of the United States Agency for Global Media. As someone who's been a veteran candidate and in the fight and a patriot. Carrie, always great to see you. You know, it's interesting to hear, as I heard, a Democrat like Mikey Sherrill saying, I'm going to bring down utility rates in New Jersey when they are sky high under Democrat rule.
Yeah, and she probably needs to look in the mirror and ask why they're sky high and look at the Democrat policies. And frankly, you know, the policies just haven't worked. And it's a very sad day to look at what happened in this election. We have radicals who, in many cases, have been anti-American, who have won elections in some of these critical races out east. I mean, we're looking right now at a communist running New York City by the name of Mandami. This is frightening. He's a guy who's never held a job, and he wants people who don't want to work. The people who don't want to work or aren't working are the ones who voted for him. And we're looking at, you know, Cuomo, I gotta say, didn't do a very good job campaigning across New York City. I didn't hear anything from him except him begging his other opponent to get out. But then you have to look at the ballot in New York City. I mean, are we going to deny that these elections are run terribly? We saw that Cuomo was on the second column, way down in the corner, and Mandami was on the ballot twice. This is insane, and we have to work out some of the issues where we had issues at some of the polling places with machines not working and people not being on the voter rolls. We need to clean all of that up, but it's a really terrible day. We have a CIA agent who won as governor of Virginia, and hopefully it's a wake-up call for people to get even more involved and as I believe, to get our elections reformed so we have election day, paper ballots, no machines, and not election month and mail-in ballots.
Carrie, in your state, Ruben Gallego had been, you know, pushing a lot of these Democratic candidates as well, pumping them up. Some notable names coming in reaction to Mandami. Let's just tell you a couple things here. Reverend Al Sharpton is saying, not since the election of Barack Obama in 2008 have voters been this energized or hopeful about a candidate. And then we have Congressman Jamie Raskin on Mandami. Get this, I'm reading on his Twitter. Mandami brings Rooseveltian vision, youthful energy, and pragmatic hope to the Big Apple. It is an alternate reality, but they are spinning it as if this is some type of wonderful thing to cheer. Yet the people in New York, they will be the ones victim when all the businesses leave, the jobs dry up, and then they realize, oh, guess what? State-run grocery stores don't work. Free stuff doesn't work, and he can't deliver most of the things he promised.
His new deal is going to be a bad deal for the people of New York, because you're right. I actually think if I ran U-Haul, I would start driving trucks from every other state as fast as they could to New York, because they're going to be filled up very quickly as the people who actually pay the taxes. There's going to be a mass exodus in that state, and they're going to leave the state. They're going to find out that government-run anything doesn't work. Just go to get your driver's license, although in New York City, many people probably don't have a driver's license. But look at anything the bureaucracy runs. It's usually run into the ground. It's not going to go well. Pretty soon, those government-run grocery stores will probably look like the grocery stores in Cuba. And I think very dark days are ahead for New York City. It'll look a lot more like London, and then eventually much worse than that with this guy's policies. He's never done anything in his life. And it's really frightening to think that this guy can be pushing the policies. But I have to say, we have to look at who the young voters are right now. The 20 and 30-year-olds have been brainwashed their entire life with an indoctrination rather than an education. They've been told that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. They've been, in many cases, haven't had ability to find a job because they got a worthless college degree that could not render them a good paying job, and therefore expect or are okay with handouts or getting their college tuition or their college student loans paid off by the government.
Yeah.
The government has gotten so many people to expect a handout in order to survive. And do you really expect people in that mental state to vote against that system? I don't think it's reasonable to expect that.
Well, and speaking of handouts, Carrie, then what does that mean for this government shutdown, which drags on? Because it seems to me that President Trump has had a strong hand, and that the Democrats, sparked this and have refused, 14 times now in the Senate, Democrats, Schumer and others, to reopen the government. But in terms of handouts, they wanted illegals to get free health care. They've wanted to, make sure that SNAP benefits don't just go to Americans who need it. We don't want people in this country to go hungry. But we also know, Carrie, that there's like at least 21 blue states where these SNAP benefits are going to illegal immigrants. So what do you think happens with the government shutdown? You're in Washington in the administration now. And this idea that maybe Hakeem Jeffries and other leftists in Congress are going to say, hey, let's keep going. We can beat Trump. Let's drag this out.
I don't know. It could be a showdown, but the American people don't want to see their hard-earned tax dollars going to pay for illegals' benefits when they're struggling in many cases to afford their own benefits. Look, Obamacare doesn't work. The reason we've had to subsidize it is because it doesn't work. And those subsidies going away prove that it never was a good idea and it never did work. But, you mentioned my former opponent, Rubin, out running around, campaigning for a CIA agent, campaigning for some of these radicals. And, rather than being in D.C. and voting to open up our government, he's out campaigning for more radicals. But it makes sense. The guy's father is a cartel member, a cartel drug trafficker. He comes from that lifestyle. And unfortunately, he wants to continue to give freebies to people who are here illegally. And President Trump doesn't want to do that. It's going to be a showdown. And I think that the Democrats will come out on the losing side. It's really about who cares and loves the American people and who's working against them. And if you want to shut the government down to give American taxpayer dollars to illegal immigrants, there's no other way to slice it. You are working against the American people. That's what it comes down to with this shutdown.
There you have it. Full stop. Big tent party, Ruben Gallego says, so big that now a communist socialist is included in it in the fray here.
Unreal.
Carrie, always great to have you with us.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thanks.
And you see that flag on the left side there? It's not an American flag. I can't make out what it is, but you can see already Mamdani. Can you make that out? But there's an American flag on the stage along with other flags, but someone's been waving that flag on the left side of the screen, waiting for Mamdani to come out. We've seen this at, ICE protests out in L.A., Mexican flags. There are these rallies where some of these winning Democrats, or in this case, a Democrat socialist, their fans, their supporters are not waving American flags.
No, and he's, obviously not distanced himself from being with the Democrat Socialists of America. And a lot of people who are looking at New York City, oh, you're for LGBTQ, but what would you do? What do Muslims do with gay people, with LGBTQ people?
Exactly.
I mean, the hypocrisy there is just so rich, but, the young people just sort of, loving this whole free everything, stabilized rent and all these other things. It's just the illusion of promising things that he can't deliver on, like I said a few minutes ago, but you're right. Is he really even feel like he's American? His mother says, no, not really. That's an interview that resurfaced. It wasn't enough, though, to give voters pause tonight in New York City, Ed.
Yeah, and Hakeem Jeffries endorsed him late from New York and then sort of backpedaled on CNN this week. Well, maybe he's not the future of the Democrat Party. And Chuck Schumer, as you've been pointing out all night, never got involved in this race, wanted to duck and hide and wouldn't even say who he voted for.
Would not. That was today. Would not say who he voted for.
So our coverage continues. We're waiting for Zohran Mamdani to come out and give his victory speech there live in New York City. Quick break. On the other side, we'll check in on what happened in the Commonwealth of Virginia right after this.
Will you be able to afford your golden years? Do you worry how you'll make ends meet? You may be leaving up to $100,000 unclaimed. You need this special report. How to boost your Social Security and retirement by at least $100,000 or more. Get your free copy today. You've earned the benefits. Take advantage now. See our special offer to claim your free report. Call or go online today.
Are your vitamins actually making you healthier, or are they just a waste of money? You'll find the answers in your all-new 500-page edition of The Vitamin Cure. Get the latest on which vitamins really work and discover how to buy supplements without getting ripped off. The Vitamin Cure sells for $29.99, but right now you can claim your free copy with this special offer from Newsmax Health. Go to the website address on your screen or call toll-free 800-680-5117.
If you could help reduce the urge to go to the bathroom due to your aging prostate, if you could improve your energy levels because you're getting a better night's sleep, would you? Of course you would. And now you can with the help of Prostate Revive, the premium dietary supplement for men whose lives, sleep, and energy levels are affected due to the concerns of an aging prostate. It was specially formulated for men by noted medical doctor, Dr. David Brownstein.
Prostate Revive is really about healthy aging. It contains a plant sterol called beta-sitosterol. Combined with 15 other important ingredients, Prostate Revive's exclusive formula helps promote normal prostate function. And that means you can reduce the urge to go and finally get a good night's sleep.
Here's how you can try Prostate Revive risk-free.
Simply call or visit our website now and we'll send every new customer a risk-free 30-day trial of Prostate Revive. You discover the low shipping and handling. This is a $39.95 value, so don't delay. Call or go online today.
We're so glad you're with us here for our live coverage on N2. Bianca Della Garza here with my colleague Ed Henry. It is 10:18 here on the East Coast. Still waiting for Zohran Mamdani to come out and give his victory speech. Tough night for Republicans. President Trump just moments ago put out a post on Truth Social. Let's bring it up on the screen. We can all read it here. Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters. I'm surprised it didn't end with thank you for your attention.
Yeah, I bet we'll get one of those.
But I think there'll be more. Of course, President Trump came out, and endorsed Cuomo because he says, I'd rather have a bad Democrat who is, of course, he's independent now, than a socialist, but his worst fears, and now everyone's worst fears on the right here are being witnessed as Mamdani has won.
And we're waiting for that socialist, or
will
as the
be
president,
blamed a little bit for not dropping out.
Yeah, the president called him a communist as well. He should be giving his victory speech any moment. In the meantime, some big results out of the Commonwealth of Virginia as well. Let's bring in now a friend, former governor from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Bob McDonnell. Governor, it's always good to talk to you. Your thoughts tonight, because you heard Bianca reporting about the president saying the shutdown may be part of this. Obviously, you know better than anyone, Northern Virginia has a lot of federal workers who may have been furloughed here, may be angry, may be trying to blame the president, even though the Democrats sparked this shutdown. Your thoughts tonight about what happened in Virginia?
Well, Ed, Bianca, thanks for having me on. Yeah, that's a very disappointing night for the Commonwealth after enjoying a sweep by the Republicans 4 years ago, led by Glenn Youngkin, and now we have a Democratic sweep, it looks like, this year. And I just remain stunned that, particularly in the Attorney General's race, where we have a Democratic candidate, supporting the assassination culture with his incredible words, about the former Speaker of the House putting 2 bullets in him ahead of Hitler. That this guy, who's now got a bar complaint and a criminal investigation as a result of that, gets elected Attorney General. I mean, he may not even be able to serve if he doesn't have a law license. So, I mean, it's truly stunning that the good and fair people of Virginia were somehow blinded to, to vote for him. But beyond that, I think, there's always a couple things in Virginia. One, the party in power in the White House has lost the governor's race 50 years in a row. And it's except 2013. So whatever party's in the White House, people vote the other way. The independents don't like the change in Washington. And I do think that the shutdown of government, it always gets blamed on Republicans. We have the most federal workers laid off in Northern Virginia. And so that had a disproportionate and negative impact on our candidates this cycle.
Yeah, and clearly wasn't as close as some of the polls had said. It looked like Chitterelli in New Jersey would have been closer to Mikey Sherrill, who had a troubled campaign. Spanberger, more of a pretty good retail politician. Governor, we're putting up Jay Jones, Jason Myers, as you see here. Again, it was really a moral compass, many are questioning. As we wait for Mondami, I also want to talk about Virginia's lieutenant governor. We just had the results up there. Ghazala Hashimi, first female Muslim ever elected to statewide office. Out in Minneapolis, we have a Muslim running as well there, Omar Fateh, a self-declared Democrat socialist here. So some are looking at him, Mondami, and wondering if this is sort of the wave here. And it really isn't like the Democrat Party. It's the radicals and the AOC threatening to primary Chuck Schumer, the government shutdown. But this sort of the money that's being funneled into some of these Muslim candidates, some say it's a larger problem here. That's why if you're not living in New York City, you're saying, what's happening? It is happening in other pockets here, Governor. Can you talk to that and some of the concern you have here about that particular piece of money and people who may not have America first or America's interests really front and center for their constituents who are voting for them?
Well, we've been battling for over 30 years with the radical jihadists over in the Mideast, with bullets and weapons. But if they can infiltrate the country and actually put real law in place at a state or local level, they win the battle without firing a shot. Now, listen, we cherish this incredible right to worship as you please in the First Amendment written by Jefferson. We think that's a core element of being an American, but it's very different than importing an ideology from another culture into the U.S. that would have a very, very different set of rules when it comes to our Judeo-Christian heritage that's been the strength of America for 400 years. So I think we wait and see how do they really govern. But it is, I will say, Bianca, it's truly a shocking result that we can have people that have supported an assassination culture for the execution of little children, that they would be the top law enforcement officer in Virginia. And I think we're going to rue the day, that the 400 bills Glenn Youngkin vetoed the last 2 years, almost every one of them now will be signed and into law by Spanberger, and it'll be a consequentially different Virginia than I left 10 years ago.
Absolutely. Let's look forward to the midterms, because we heard what President Trump had to say. Former President Obama, who was campaigning in Virginia, as you know, in the final weekend, he just posted on X, congratulations to all the Democrat candidates who won. It's a reminder when we come together around strong, forward-looking leaders who care about the issues that matter, we can win. He says that we have a long way to go, a lot of work to do, the Democrats, but the future looks a little bit brighter. I think it's a reminder that the Democrats are in a deep hole overall, Governor, despite some wins tonight on blue turf. But also, do you notice that he doesn't mention any of the candidates by name, maybe because he doesn't yet want to embrace Mamdani? Obama allegedly called Mamdani but didn't officially endorse him. Schumer hasn't, as we've been reporting. My point being, it's a win, quote unquote, for Democrats tonight that a socialist is going to be the mayor of New York. But might that be a win for Republicans next year in the midterms, that he's going to be the boogeyman?
Well, I think we're a very reactionary electorate. People reacted to Donald Trump. They apparently didn't like a lot of what he was doing, and so our candidates paid the price. But the next year, you're right, the midterm elections, when they see what some of these quite radical Democrats are going to do, how they're really going to govern, what socialism really means for the average middle class, hardworking person. I think they'll have another view. You know, when I was governor, and I left 12 years ago, I'd say 20% of the Democrats in the legislature, Ed, were moderates. There are none left. The Soros machine has taken all of them out, and they are all now the far left, just like Washington, D.C. When they see what that government's like, I think people will come to their senses, and the common sense middle that always affects the outcome. I think they'll come back and vote for common sense Republicans next time.
All right. Well, we were talking to a common sense person right there. In Governor McDonald, it's always great to get your insights. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.
All right. So we're still waiting on Zohran Mamdani to come out in his victory speech. You can see that they're excited there. I want to correct, by the way, I was saying, what's that flag? And it's been pointed out to me, the flag on the left side is apparently the New York City flag. So I'm proud of that. That's great.
He's making them wait
there's been
for
a lot of rallies with a lot of foreign flags lately. I've seen them on the streets here. I've seen Palestinian flags. I've seen Mexican flags at rallies in L.A., anti-ICE rallies. And it's a little bit alarming. But we're going to take a quick break. We got a lot more to come. In fact, America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, is standing by. Quick break, and we'll check in with the mayor, his thoughts on a brutal night for New York City.
It used to be common. Our newscasters had common sense. They gave it to you straight, just the facts, and real news. John Bachman is like them. He tells it like it is. Catch him every weekday on NEWSMAX2.
We must begin by acknowledging a hard truth. We will not eradicate violent conflict in our lifetimes. There will be times when nations, acting individually or in concert, will find the use of force not only necessary, but morally justified. For make no mistake, evil does exist in the world. A nonviolent movement could not have halted Hitler's armies. Negotiations cannot convince al-Qaeda's leaders to lay down their arms. To say that force may sometimes be necessary is not a call to cynicism, it is a recognition of history, the imperfections of man, and the limits of reason. The United States of America has helped underwrite global security for more than 6 decades with the blood of our citizens and the strength of our arms. We have borne this burden not because we seek to impose our will. We have done so out of enlightened self-interest, because we seek a better future for our children and grandchildren, and we believe that their lives will be better if others' children and grandchildren can live in freedom and prosperity.
Glad you are with us. A live look here. It is Brooklyn, and not too surprising, Mamdani mania, all his supporters gathering. He's making them wait for his victory speech. In the end, despite some momentum, Cuomo could not pull out the win tonight.
He's got a packed house, you see.
Zohran Mamdani, all the free stuff that everyone there is hoping
they'll get.
Is that where
they pick it up? Did they start picking up the free stuff tonight? Is that tomorrow?
I think so, yeah.
Because he was on Morning Joe today backpedaling,
like
saying it's not free groceries, it's cheap groceries.
Oh, right.
So
And
he's backpedaling.
he wants free and faster buses. I said, I don't want faster buses in New York City. It's already dangerous enough on those streets. But we are awaiting the comments there. Tough night for Republicans. Also lost Jack Ciattarelli to Spanberger for governor, and in Virginia, a loss by Winsome Earl Sears to.
So now Zohran Mamdani is teed up to be the next mayor of New York City, which tells me that once his socialist policies start getting implemented, we're going to need a comeback to America's largest city, where I'm from. And I got just the man for the job. He's tanned, he's rested, and he's ready, I think. His name is Rudy Giuliani.
You know him, you love him.
Yep, and we know him, we love him. He started out as New York's mayor, but quickly became America's mayor. Mayor Giuliani, can you hear us? Welcome.
I can hear you just fine. It's wonderful to talk to you, and very disappointing to see a communist, socialist, Islamic supporter of terrorist people elected as mayor of New York City. It's shocking, since New York City is the single biggest victim of Islamic terrorism, to have this guy elected, whose father and he are supporters of some of the worst Islamic terrorists. But maybe it's this is the right thing. I mean, we've got to the point where you can't go any further. We'll run against him in every part of America. It should assure a big Republican victory next year. And just maybe it'll convince the people of my former city that they're out of their minds.
Yeah. Well, those who don't leave, there's a big concern about, there was an exodus during COVID under, Cuomo, the baggage he brought to this, and now another round. People can't take it, can't afford. In addition to that, Mayor, I mean, the concern about the anti-Semitic comments, you mentioned the ties to some of these, radicals. How is New York City? You told me yesterday that you felt like you were attending a funeral. I mean, New York City is going to feel the impact. I mean, they're bracing for this, not the people in this room, though.
Well, I have to tell you, Bianca, I think it's possible that New York City can't absorb this. This will mean a tremendous exodus of people who would vote against him or his ideas later. But this is, I have a feeling this is a very good thing for America.
Yes.
This will convince the rest of America of how insane the Democrat Party has become.
Right. I know you were, Sliwa was your guy, Mayor, and obviously he didn't drop out. And, the numbers there, some will point to him, some will put some blame on him as well. So talk to us about, whether or not Eric Adams stayed too long. But where the narrative will go, that there was sort of, Trump had come out and made some real forceful comments. So talk to us, because I know that you are very close with Sliwa, and you thought
I'm very close to the president too.
Yes.
Sliwa turns out not to be a factor because he went over 50%.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever Sliwa gave him in votes, it wouldn't have made a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my position was, we got to stick with our principles. We got to stick with our party. We got to keep it together. We can't go endorsing people from other parties. That isn't how we went from Goldwater to Reagan, or from Reagan to Trump. We've got to, and also Cuomo exceeded the stink factor, meaning I just couldn't vote for him. I couldn't vote for. As a matter of conscience, I would have felt like the guy was a terrible governor. I mean, we chased him out of being governor because he killed too many people.
Yeah, those nursing homes. Yeah, the nursing homes, and during COVID, he never fully addressed that. He tried, but you're right. There's no easy way to address that. It was an ugly, ugly situation. Mr. Mayor, you cleaned up the city, as we all know, particularly on the crime issue, the broken windows theory, and all of that. What are your fears moving forward? When you were saying earlier, well, on one hand, this could be good for America, so they'll see how bad socialism is, maybe on the economic standpoint. But what happens with safety, sir?
Well, this is a very good development for the country. This guy will not play well in 75% of America.
Yeah.
And this is like 2010, when we ran against Pelosi and won one of the biggest margins in congressional history. Running against him will be unbelievable. However, it's a terrible day for New York, for the city I love so much. I don't know how the people of my city have become so, I don't know what to call them. 50% for a guy who's not only a socialist, but an Islamic extremist. This guy supports the extremist side of the Muslim movement. He's not a peaceful Muslim. He supports an imam who is one of the worst in America and promotes him as one of the best. This is a guy who was involved in conspiring with people who killed Americans.
Yeah.
You know, Mayor, you're so...
And his father's worse. Mandami's father is worse. You don't want to blame a son for the sins of the father, but he's taking them all over.
You're so right.
This is a very, very dangerous man, and he will be, unfortunately, of great usefulness to us and the rest of America, but it'll be terrible for the city I love.
Yeah.
And Mayor, you're so right. I mean, the money that was funneled into his campaign, people are coming out on social media talking how 80% of it was coming from these Muslim groups, almost as if he is installed. There's a big concern about the money coming from CAIR, C-A-I-R, their ties to Hamas. I'm looking at a letter from Elise Stefanik, who also wants to be the next governor of New York, writing with Tom Cotton, addressing some of the concerns you just laid out so articulately. They're telling Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, we want you to look at CAIR and the ties to the U.S. designated organization between Hamas. This is a group that has not condemned the October 7th attacks. And, you know, Mandami never distanced himself from any of this.
That's why he is the perfect poster boy for the Democrat Party and all the rest of America that's still loyal to the United States, which is most of it. And you can't imagine how helpful he will be for all the wrong reasons, but he will be. And but for my city, it's, I mean, I'll just cry tonight. Wow. And I don't know how they elected him. I don't know what happened to them that they would elect somebody like this. This guy is beyond anything you could possibly imagine. He hates our country. He hates our city. He supports a version of Islam that goes back to the 8th century, and he's a communist.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? What else could he be?
Other than that, he's a great guy.
Beyond that, he's woefully unqualified to be mayor of New York. I did the job.
Right.
But I did the job after being in charge of half of the Justice Department. I did it after being the most successful prosecutor, I think, in the 20th century. I mean, I did it after a lifetime of accomplishment. I mean, so did the other people who did a good job doing, like Mike Bloomberg.
Yes.
The man created an industry.
That's right.
This guy has no idea what he's facing. He's a child, a stupid, beyond everything else. I listened to him. I know Mayor of New York better than probably anybody. The man is a stupid little child.
So, Mr. Mayor, as we wrap this conversation, you just said you're going to cry tonight, literally. I know you're a Catholic and a prayerful man. What's your prayer for your city? What's your prayer for New York City tonight?
It's a terrible thing because this is great for my country and terrible for my city. You can't imagine how good this is for my country. It gets us to face what they've been doing to us, like in a very direct way, including the dangers of Islamic terrorism. We've been very euphemistic about the Islamic religion. I mean, it's when President Bush said it's a peaceful religion, he misled us a little. I love George Bush, but he misled us a little. And what this guy is showing us is the violent part of Islam that's real and alive. There's also a peaceful part, but he's on the violent part.
Yeah.
And we better figure that out if we want to survive.
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, emotional conversation tonight.
You both, I love you both.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, we love you and we love New York, and we're going to come back.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mayor Giuliani. I mean, he does say New York can absorb it. I mean, listen, you know New Yorkers, they are tough, they are resilient, and they have been through the worst of the worst. Mayor Giuliani leading them through one of the darkest times, 9/11, of course. And, you know, I know that how close this whole situation is now, thinking of the concern, you know, the imam picture, the smiling. I mean, we're going to see Mamdani come out and make this speech talking about... I wonder
what he's waiting for. Maybe he's waiting for a call from Andrew Cuomo, but this race has been called now for quite some time.
Maybe he's working on the speech to try to make it sound more, I don't know.
He's got to add some free stuff. He's writing down all the free stuff. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, We'll be back and check in and waiting on possible concession speech from Andrew Cuomo, as well as a victory speech from Zohran Mamdani. Our special election coverage continues right after a quick break.
In September of 1787, after months of debate, delegates to the Constitutional Convention adopted the United States Constitution. Upon leaving the convention, Benjamin Franklin was asked by a passerby what kind of government had been created. A republic, he replied, if you can keep it. Franklin sensed a battle ahead, and the long road to ratification was perilous. Some argued that a strong national government threatened the rights of the states and individual citizens. These patriots, including Patrick Henry, became known as anti-federalists. In response, Alexander Hamilton recruited James Madison and John Jay to write what Thomas Jefferson later called the best commentary on the principles of government ever written. These essays became known as the Federalist Papers. Under the pen name Publius, Hamilton, Madison, and Jay wrote 85 articles explaining the United States Constitution. They presented detailed explanations of how the new government would work and how political power would be divided between three branches of government. The Constitution, they argued, would reconcile conflicting interests through a representative Congress, a responsible executive branch, and an independent judiciary. The arguments contained in the Federalist Papers ultimately proved persuasive, and the United States Constitution was ratified the next year in June.
Part of my special campaign team, we have from the right, Telef Lundaval, the new son-in-law, husband of Mariah. We have Mariah Cara Michaela. I want to thank our campaign chairman, Bill Mulrow, our great campaign manager, Greg Goldner. I want to thank Mayor Adams, who stepped out of the race to make us more competitive, and that was a very gracious thing to do. I want to thank Mayor Bloomberg, who gave us his support, Governor David Patterson, all the unions, and I am blessed. I am blessed to have the people in this room. You have been a phenomenal team, great friends. You are superstars. Even more, you are New York patriots, and I am proud of you. This campaign was the right fight to wage, and I am proud of what we did and what we did together. This campaign was to contest the philosophies that are shaping the Democratic Party, the future of this city, and the future of this country. And this coalition transcended normal partisan politics. It brought together Democrats and Republicans and independents, joined by the simple fact that their first allegiance is as citizens of New York City. $2 million voters, the largest number in modern political history, cared enough to show up in a municipal election. And 42% voted for us on an independent line. That is the highest percentage in modern history. Ironically, it is just higher than when Mario Cuomo got 40% on an independent line against Ed Koch in 1977. It's also important to note that almost half of New Yorkers did not vote to support a government agenda that makes promises that we know cannot be met. We support an economy of jobs, of opportunity, of entrepreneurship. That's what New York is, and that's what New York must remain. We are a nation of laws, and we believe in law and order, and we need the police to keep society safe. We will not make the NYPD the enemy. We cherish our diversity, and we have no tolerance for discrimination of any kind by race, religion, sexual orientation, or creed. And we will not tolerate any behavior that fans the flames of anti-Semitism or diverse attacks. Our strength is our unity. Black, white, brown, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist. We are one. We are the family of New York. We believe in interconnection and mutuality and codependence. And you attack one of us, you attack all of us. That is what it means to be a New Yorker. No one and nothing will ever divide us. And this campaign was necessary to make that point. A caution flag that we are heading down a dangerous, dangerous road. Well, we made that point, and they heard us, and we will hold them to it. Also, my friends, feel proud because we accomplished the two important New York characteristics. We got up off the mat after the primary, and we made it a real race when the media had already commenced the coronation. And feel proud because we fought our hearts out and we left it all on the field. Congratulations to Zohran Mamdani. No. That is not right. That is not right, and that is not us. That is not us. Tonight was their night, and as they start to transition to government, we will all help any way we can because we need our New York City government to work. We want it to work for all New Yorkers because our city is the greatest city in the world, and we will unite for New York City because we love New York City. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you. I love you for the fight you made, for the soul that you showed, and the example that you set. New York City heard us, and we will be the better for it. Thank you, and God bless you.
There was the independent candidate for mayor in New York City tonight, Andrew Cuomo, the former governor. And Bianca, I can't help but think, where was that fire? That was a pretty darn good speech, but in a losing effort. And a lot of people thought he didn't really bring the fire much earlier in this campaign. Going to be a lot written about that, and Curtis Lewa not getting out either.
Quick break. We're still waiting to hear from Zohran Mamdani. Biggest turnout in New York City in 2 decades, and a 34-year-old, the youngest person to run City Hall in history, is about to make his victory speech. Stay with us right here on Ed 2. Ed and I will be right back after a quick break.
And I think any man who really has faith in himself will be dubbed arrogant by his fellows.
He was a writer, collector, philosopher, and world-famous artist whose tools of the trade were concrete and steel. Frank Lloyd Wright was born Frank Lincoln Wright on June 8, 1867, in Richland Center, Wisconsin. At age 14, he adopted his mother's maiden name, Lloyd, to honor her after she had divorced his father. Even before he was born, his mother, Anna, envisioned him to be a world-famous architect and covered his nursery walls with pictures of majestic cathedrals and buildings. He believed architects needed to be both poets and prophets, with the ability to see 10 years into the future and then build to it. His philosophy of, quote, "No house should ever be on a hill or on anything. It should be of the hill, belonging to it. Hill and house should live together, each the happier for the other," gave birth to a unique series of architectural styles. One of the most famous designs, Falling Water in southwestern Pennsylvania, was completed in 1935. Other signature works include the S.C. Johnson Wax Research Tower in Racine, Wisconsin, and the Guggenheim Museum in New York City. During his 70-year career, Frank Lloyd Wright wrote 20 books and designed 1,000 structures, of which 532 were built. He died on April 9, 1959, at age 91. But to this day, the American Institute of Architects still considers him the greatest American architect of all time. You're watching An American Life on Newsmax TV.
I was exhausted all the time, and I just didn't feel like myself. And then came the weight gain. I found out I was like millions of Americans whose thyroid gland wasn't functioning like it was supposed to. And that's why I started taking Actilin, a premium nutritional supplement. Actilin was created by renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein, formulated with 17 powerful ingredients to specifically support your thyroid function, adrenal health, and metabolism. And now, you can get a free bottle of Actilin with our special offer. Just pay a small shipping and handling charge. Plus, receive Dr. Brownstein's free special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Thyroid. If you're experiencing loss of energy, cold hands and feet, dry skin, weight gain, or joint pain, Actilin may be right for you. Don't wait. Act now. Get your free trial bottle of Actilin, valued at $39.95.
Coming into the home stretch, our live coverage here on Newsmax 2. Live look, Brooklyn, New York, part of New York City, one of the 5 boroughs, now has a new mayor, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, about to come out any moment now. Got to wonder what he's been waiting for. He probably wants to get that maximum prime time there in New York City on all the locals.
Probably at 11 o'clock. And Cuomo just gave his concession speech. Everyone there looking for some free stuff, perhaps. 34 years old, will be the youngest person to take over City Hall. And again, Democrat socialist, that's what's happening there. In California, Prop 50 is still happening. It's still open. We're bringing in our next guest, Carl DeMaio. He is the host of Reform California, also in this state legislature there. Carl, great to have you. What is going on? So we've got a socialist communist in New York. In Virginia, their top law enforcement person is now Jay Jones, who put texts out saying he wanted to watch a mother have bullets in her head and the babies die. And Jason Miyares, who is the Republican who lost, said Virginians are good and decent people, and they expect their leaders to carry themselves with civility, decorum, and integrity. And he's the one who lost there. This Democratic Party is just so frightening on so many levels. Give us your top line thoughts now.
Well, the Democrat voters are obviously motivated. They've got the zealots that have whipped them up. And I've got to say, Republican voters are complacent. They're lazy. They're taking things for granted. If you want to see this country slip away, stay on the couch. But if you want to make sure that this country returns to its greatness, then you got to get into the streets and you have to fight. And that's what we're doing here in California against Prop 50. You've got Gavin Newsom and the Democrats needing to rig their election. They're using Trump in Texas as window dressing, as a diversion, as an excuse. They've always wanted to rig their own elections. Why? Because they're not solving problems. The highest cost of living in California, the worst schools, a crime wave, homelessness is off the charts, job losses are piling up. Even In-N-Out Burger has left the state of California. And so if you want to have a glimpse of what socialism looks like or extremism, come to California, look at what's going on out here. And now they have to rig elections in California because they know the voters are moving away from them. But I've got to say tonight, my biggest complaint is that Republican voters got complacent. They stayed home, and they need to take a lesson tonight, or else 2026 is going to be even worse.
Well, and to your point, President Trump is talking about maybe in Vegas or somewhere like that doing like a Republican National Convention for the midterms. So it's like a presidential election focus. We've got 1 minute. What's it going to take to get the MAGA base fired up in 2026?
Well, what we're doing in California is we're putting the California Voter ID Initiative on the ballot. We're in the middle of getting 1 million signatures to put that game-changing initiative on the ballot. And if California can do voter ID, every single state in the union can do voter ID to restore public trust and confidence. But we also have to continue to drain the swamp.
That's right.
In every state capital and in Washington. We cannot be the corruption that the Democrat system became.
Right. Yeah.
We've got to go back to the base and show them that we're delivering results for them.
That's right. All right, Carl, we got to go.
Carl, thank you so much. Long lines in Santa Ana. Of course, Prop 50 looks like it will pass. Polls are still open in New York. It is a done deal. Zohran Mamdani, the winner.
All right. Have a great night. You can check out Bianca with a lot of analysis tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern here, and I'll be on at 6 p.m. Eastern on N2 every weekday. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night, everybody.
Federal agencies urge every family to have an emergency radio. During any disaster, electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax wants you to have the Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It doesn't need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call or go online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
We must begin by acknowledging a hard truth. We will not eradicate violent conflict in our lifetimes. There will be times when nations, acting individually or in concert, will find the use of force not only necessary, but morally justified. For make no mistake, evil does exist in the world. A nonviolent movement could not have halted Hitler's armies. Negotiations cannot convince al-Qaeda's leaders to lay down their arms. To say that force may sometimes be necessary is not a call to cynicism, it is a recognition of history, the imperfections of man, and the limits of reason. The United States of America has helped underwrite global security for more than 6 decades with the blood of our citizens and the strength of our arms. We have borne this burden not because we seek to impose our will. We have done so out of enlightened self-interest, because we seek a better future for our children and grandchildren, and we believe that their lives will be better if others' children and grandchildren can live in freedom and prosperity.
Hello, Patriots. Welcome to Ed Henry with the briefing. Breaking just moments ago, there was a massive explosion reported at the Louisville International Airport in Kentucky. Look at this big plume of smoke. It is believed to be a UPS cargo plane that may have crashed. Scant details at this hour, but it comes amid questions about aviation safety in America, with air traffic controllers running short amid the government shutdown caused by the Democrats. No evidence right now that it is tied to that, but earlier today, the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, said they may have to start shutting airspace in parts of America to deal with this crisis. We'll keep digging and get back to that. No reported injuries or anything just yet. This comes amid a big off-year election night right here on Newsmax all across the United States. Since we were about to get our first glimpse of the mood of the American electorate 9 months into President Trump's highly successful second term in office, perhaps a snapshot of where we are headed for next year's critical midterms, which will determine the trajectory of the rest of the president's second term. Will he continue to dominate the agenda, or are Democrats about to bring that progress to a screeching halt with investigations and impeachment drama after all the liberal lawfare? That's what Democrats have been focused on for much of the last decade. But it's all blowing up in the Democrats' faces on a number of fronts on this election night. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley will be our exclusive guest this hour to brief us on his expanding investigation into the FBI's Operation Arctic Frost, which led to the surveillance of about 9 Republican senators' phone records. And special counsel Jack Smith even came after me with a secret subpoena to Apple, apparently for my phone records, maybe email and text, possibly banking information. I'll ask the senator about the documents he's uncovered.